Welcome to Hurrdat Sports Radio.
Tominaga, 8 points. Give him double digits. The Georgetown handed bank. Yup, couldn't forget that in the semifinals. Hoiberg, top catch to get it to Gary. How about Sam Hoiberg on that give? I'm not sure what was more impressive, the Hoiberg pass or Gary's catch. Either way.
With 7, with 6, Ashworth outside for Trey. With 4, Trey into the paint. Step back 2. It's scored! 0.1 seconds left. Trey Alexander, a fadeaway 2. 0.1 seconds left. Trey Alexander.
Cardinals get it into Bacon. He's going to try and back in against Young. Kicks it out to Ryan. Catch and shoot 3. Good from the right side.
A top 5 win to end the regular season, their first since 2008. What a night for the Trojans. They put it all together, the performance they've been waiting all season for.
It's a new team, but the same old dogs. Drake is dancing once again, the 3rd time in 4 seasons. And they're going crazy here in St. Louis.
Back to Kaluma, and Iowa State will back off. Kansas State is going to win their senior day game, and they will win for the 18th time, their 8th time in league play. Our final 65-58 Wildcats.
Good morning. Welcome into Hurrdat Sports Radio, AM 590, ESPN Omaha, ESPN Tri-Cities. We're live on Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. That's DB. I'm Ravi Lulla.
What's up?
Good morning to you here on a Monday.
Oh, hi.
It was a little bit of a busy weekend.
Yeah.
We had some stuff going on.
A lot of sports, but I didn't do a ton.
Yeah.
Yeah. After we lost on Friday night, Saturday was kind of like, I can't remember what I was doing earlier. Maybe cleans. I don't know if it was the garage, the deck, did some laundry, but I don't think I left.
That's good.
I might
relax a little bit.
I might have. And then yesterday, like I sat outside a lot. Mm-hmm. So I was on my deck. I actually watched the Carolina game out there. I did a little like beef tenderloin strip.
Okay.
It wasn't a strip, it was more like a hunk. And then yesterday, like I chilled. There was so many, I don't know if importance is the right word, but I just felt like there was like meaningful stuff on television.
There was a lot going on.
You know, so I had to like yesterday, it was very thankful for, do you have the multi-view thing on your television?
Oh, on YouTube?
So then I can click the volume of the one that I want.
Yep.
So I had 2 basketball, I had women's basketball, I had men's basketball on. I watched wrestling. There was one other thing on yesterday morning, and I can't remember what it was. But, I mean, I was rolling.
Yeah.
And it was a little bit of a sluggish day because of the time, but
yeah,
it wasn't too bad.
The big setup that I'll do is I'll do my big TV, I'll do my quad box, and I've got a smaller TV next to it where I'll have a game on, and then I've got a computer screen that I'll like run something through my laptop and then plug that in. Yeah. So I
need to probably utilize my laptop more.
Yeah, I just started because I have a really nice like external monitor that I can hook up to it.
Yeah.
So I can get, it's almost like a third TV, which is nice.
But with the multi-view and being able to control the volume the way I want to, can you believe once upon a time, way back when we did picture-in-picture? Picture-in-picture seems so archaic, doesn't it?
The only thing I wish you could choose which games were in the quad box.
Yeah. You're kind of at the mercy
of preset.
Yeah.
You know, it's kind of like with March Madness when they used to kind of preset what game you were watching.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, we think this one's going to be good. And it's like, hey, that game had like 3 minutes left. Could we go back to that? That'd be super. Before they had all 4 channels going at the same time.
It was almost an amazing weekend for my sports teams, too.
It was.
Betts is hitting the ball. The Dodgers, I mean, I'm a big spring training guy.
You okay with Mookie at short?
Yeah, I was a little surprised.
They've kind of talked about that for a while.
Yeah, but usually you go from he's doing it in reverse order.
Well,
you usually go from second to or you usually go from short to
middle
second,
infield to
not second to short, and usually you go from infield to outfield, not outfield to infield.
Well,
so they've done it all backwards.
Yes, I mean, so he started as an infielder with the Sox.
Yeah,
second base primarily, but he did, I think, start as a shortstop. They moved him to second because they thought the path was easier. Then they moved him to the outfield. And then the Dodgers are like, nah, go ahead and play.
Yeah.
Which he's an incredible athlete. So
He is.
fine.
He is. And it hurt me. Like one of the few, there's probably been a couple guys
I still miss him.
that have left the Dodgers that really, really bugged me.
Yeah.
Seager was one.
Yeah.
So
You were talking about him before.
yeah.
Yeah.
I'm a big
You're like, they need to resign it.
I'm a big Seager guy. And it's good to see him flourishing with John Tallman's Rangers. That's always fun.
Every time I see Mookie Betts, I'm just like, why'd you have to do it, guys?
But Gavin Lux is hitting it pretty okay. I think
Yeah.
he's got 8 or 9 hits already in spring ball. I need to see him come back. Obviously Nebraska, men and women's. Creighton, although I almost ran my mouth a little too early.
So you sent me a text at like 32-8 because you were adamant that they were going to beat Villanova.
Yeah, I was
Adamant.
like, I don't get the
You were just like, you sent me the I told you text, basically.
kind of.
I don't remember what not
Yeah.
like mean-spirited, but you were like,
Yeah,
I was
it's
trying
just
to tell you.
No, I basically said what I didn't like about Villanova because it was
Yes.
actually happening.
Yeah.
I said they shoot too many bad jumpers.
Which they still did, but then Creighton decided to shoot too many bad jumpers as well.
OMG.
I don't know how to feel about what happened on Saturday. So we can start here with Creighton, right? Because I don't know how to feel because 32-8, love it. Great start, 7 of 10 from 3, a lot of fun, incredible stuff. On the road, you got the Wells Fargo Center quiet. I'm having Ethan Rogge flashbacks. Like I'm having a great time through the first 10 minutes of that game. The middle 25 minutes, I'm having less of a good time. And call it like 29 minutes to be fair. And then we get a Trey Alexander buzzer beater, which also a big fan. So I get a road win. I get a Trey Alexander buzzer beater. Great stuff. I get a 32-8 lead and starting off red hot from 3. Great stuff. The problem is they happened in the same game.
Yeah. And
we had a 24-point or we witnessed a 24-point lead evaporate over the course of that game.
Yeah,
that wasn't that fun.
No, I still don't know how Villanova does it though.
I don't either.
But I mean, I guess that's neither here nor there. I mean, they got to play their brains out.
They have to at least make the championship game, right?
You'd think.
I think they're in a bad spot.
But then again, yesterday I'm watching like Drake. Yeah. So you're talking about random blind spots.
Mm-hmm.
DeVries, I have a random.
You
blind
love
spot.
DeVries.
I love Dan DeVries.
Yeah.
Like I have it's just I don't know if it's how he's treated me. Like it's not like we're exceptionally close or anything. He's just good to me when I see, and he has been for a long time. But going back to like Tucker's OSA days, he's never afraid to like talk about the kids and his family, and he's ripping and running and I don't know. I have a blind spot for DeVries, but I'm watching the Sycamores, and I'm like, God, they would be a tough out for somebody.
Oh yeah,
they're better than some of these.
Oh yeah.
Some of these last 4 in teams. Now they're not going to get in without winning their turn, they're not going to get in because they didn't win their tournament. But
which is dumb, by the way.
I'm telling you, man. They're good.
It's stupid.
Their tempo is sensational. They play fast. I was like, huh.
I need to soapbox for a minute here because
about bad behavior or what?
No,
what are we doing?
we'll get on bad behavior, but on
bad lot of that this week
on bad selection committee behavior. Okay.
Yeah. Are you gonna talk about being lazy?
Not being lazy. Maybe I don't know how you want to put it, but they rely on the metrics too much, which gives you because listen. Power conference teams are always going to have better metrics than mid-major teams.
Yeah, 100%.
Always, because you get the better strength of schedule,
more quad one,
built in, just opportunities.
Yeah, you just get more opportunities.
Just get more opportunities. You can't tell me. Let's look at a bad Power 5 team. You can't tell me Texas, who's been mediocre AF all year, right? Has Texas done anything this year that's like, yeah, they're special? Anything at all? No. Same
as Mississippi State, and people have Mississippi State locked in at a 10, and I was like, you guys watch them?
Mississippi State's a great example. Give me Seton Hall. Hall.
Don't get me started.
Not
on
special.
Hall. Don't get me started.
Give me Virginia.
Yeah.
Okay. Total trash. Let's see. Who else do we have from power conferences that is not special at all? I mean, I don't know how you feel about Texas Tech. They're whatever. What about Michigan State? Has Michigan State earned their way into the tournament?
Did you see their debacle yesterday?
In
Bloomington?
Michigan State has not only do they have every opportunity of a Big Ten schedule, right?
Yeah.
They have every opportunity of they were top 5 preseason. The metrics love them, and they are limping their way into a tournament bid.
I always
really want to see Michigan State in the tournament over Indiana State?
No, because Indiana State would be a tough guard without being in their league.
Yeah.
They are ultra quick.
Yes.
A lot of guys that can
And
get you
then
off the
you've
bounce,
just
and they
got-
got my man Avila.
I was saying, then you've just got this random mini Jokic running around.
Yeah. I guess I didn't realize he was top 3 players in the state of Indiana coming out.
Yeah, he
Said
just doesn't look like it.
One of Indiana State's top 2 recruits that they've ever gotten. I was like, oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, the first one is Larry Bird.
Yeah. Were they doing recruiting services back then with old French Lick?
I don't know.
No.
All I know
I
is
don't think so either, Liquid.
all I know is he had an Indiana scholarship before he went to Indiana State, so he definitely was one of the best recruits they've ever gotten.
And so I'm like, I'm watching.
I'm just saying, I'm sitting here. Sorry, I don't mean to cut you off.
No, you're good.
I'm sitting here and I'm looking at these teams. Indiana State's not going to make it, which is crap. Okay. We're going to have a bunch of other mid-major teams that aren't going to make it. Gonzaga's going to make it on name reputation alone.
Although
they've played better.
The last third of their season's kind of salvaged them. They got St. Mary's, they got Kentucky.
It has, but like they're not special. Gonzaga's not special this year. And you're telling me that Indiana State doesn't get to play because they play in Missouri Valley.
I like the way they play.
I like the way they play.
Super fast. And I'm for the D2 coaches that get opportunities. So
100%. Because it doesn't happen very often.
Oh, and he's built them too.
Yes.
I think it was 10 wins first season.
They weren't good when he took over.
Yeah.
They were really bad.
And then he's progressively gotten better in year 3. So, I mean,
the committee needs to reevaluate how they look at these teams. Because I don't need to see 20-11 Texas or 18-13 Michigan State.
So here's the problem, though, and I've been like this almost since it started being a thing. So let's go back to like early 2000s.
Okay.
I understand analytics. I understand metrics. I do. War the whole 9. But I always told myself it's a guideline, not an end-all be-all.
Yes.
But the problem is, like, we control some of this because it's all we talk about. You turn on television, we talk metrics.
Mm-hmm.
You turn on the podcasts and radios, they talk metrics. Like, it's like I always say, we help perpetuate the madness because,
and that's fair.
We give it a pass. We give it a pass because we give it ear bent.
I mean, I'm not giving it a pass. I'm literally saying it's stupid right now.
Yeah, I'm listening. This is on Monday morning with Nebraska baseball coming, but like a lot going on. I'm not here for vouching for Indiana State. I'm just saying because it's not really about Indiana State.
No, it's about in general
the process,
yeah.
Right? It's kind of weird.
I
mean, tell that to Georgetown women.
I think.
Dude, how about that?
I did not see that coming.
You talk about. That was arguably, and I get it. Well, you could have turned the channel while you're watching the baseball. Well, I had just seen Flan at PBA the night before, and I told him I was going to be locked and loaded, and
we love Flan, so
yeah, he's amazing. And I always forget that Dave Gillespie is his father-in-law, so it's like,
yeah, you got double whammy there.
Yeah,
people that you like,
Nebraska ties. Yeah, and it was probably weird. He was walking up to Coach Gillespie was walking up the stairs at PBA, and it's kind of one of those like long hugs. And I'm sure people are wondering, like, why is he hugging this?
We linger in a little bit
because it's probably about 4 or 5 seconds, and he's not real recognizable. He had his readers on, but anyway, it's all sorts of. I don't know. Let me go back to the Georgetown Creighton game.
Yeah,
debacle.
Yeah.
Absolute debacle. I mean, it was like wrestling. Even the broadcast was getting frustrated.
Yeah.
But then you watch, like, basketball is weird right now. Just a lot of bad. Sometimes they're going to the Monitor in Nebraska, Ann Arbor for a game that's out of control.
Yeah.
He went to the Monitor in Iowa, Nebraska. You go to the Monitor. They should have went to the Monitor at Duke, North Carolina. You get the foolishness of LSU in South Carolina. And by the way, remember I told you, we kind of let adults off the hook because they're adults.
Okay.
Hey, did you happen to catch Mulkey's presser?
I did not.
Yeah, well, she says, glad she wish she would have pushed Angel Reese. Like, pick on somebody your own size. I'm like, wait a second. You guys are acting like fools out here at half court post game. And the best thing that you can come up with is pick on somebody your own size. Meanwhile, Staley's like apologizing for South Carolina.
That's because Staley has some sense.
I'm sorry. It got heated. It's a little out of we're in the moment. We apologize.
I mean, if we know anything about Kim Mulkey, is that she is totally unhinged.
I full disclosure, I kind of like her.
That's fine. You can like her.
I know.
But
yesterday was not good.
She's full blown nuts.
You know what else I wanted to see?
If you hear her public comments at all, she's nuts.
How come I couldn't get my man John Shire, Coach Shire, to like take the podium and explain why his guy Flip fakes all the time? Because when it was court storming, I mean, my man
he had a lot to say.
Oh,
he had a lot to say.
Boo-hoo. Kleenex says, bless you.
When are we going to stop the court
storming?
storming?
Your guy's out here jaking injuries because he tries to trip a guy.
Think of the children.
I'm like, what is going on?
Anybody who didn't think Filipowski was faking it on the court storming, yesterday wasn't a good, or Saturday, yesterday?
Did he win an award last night? I didn't watch a second of the Oscars.
I didn't either, but
listen, not 1 second.
I did look up winners. My guys at Oppenheimer did a good job. Like
they won.
They won 7.
I like the Peaky Blinders dude. What's his name?
Killian Murphy.
Okay,
I love that dude.
All right. I should just think Killian's.
Yeah,
Killian. It's Killian with a K.
Yeah. Well, it's with a C, but it's pronounced Killian.
Are you sure?
100%.
It's not like
it's not Cillian.
Sicilian?
No,
because that's with an S.
That's a different country. Sicilian is Italian, although it does start with an I. Italian, Irish.
It was a good, pretty much. Nebraska baseball came back, and then I went to sleep and had a nightmare. So
what was the nightmare?
Mr. Unlimited was selling cookies at my door.
I don't know what Mr. Unlimited is.
Russell Wilson.
Oh,
it actually wasn't cookies. It was hair products. Here's the dumbest thing.
Did you actually have a nightmare about Russell Wilson?
It wasn't a nightmare. I dreamed once in a blue moon.
Yeah.
And I know it stemmed from my barber on Friday because we were talking about beard oil.
And then you go to bed and Russell Wilson with your Steelers.
So I'm watching the Timberwolves Lakers game and a couple of alerts go off. Bing, bing. Because it was like a Sunday night news dump.
It was. It happened. I mean,
just like 10 o'clock, 9:45 maybe.
Full disclosure, I didn't get home until like 10:30.
And everybody was like, oh gosh, I think it's happening. And I follow, obviously I get tagged on Steelers news on my ESPN thing. And I was like, so of course I clicked on the image. They already had him in his Steelers gear. He had such pretty hair. I'm like, golly, man, what else is going to play? All these things went through my mind.
Hear the words.
Right. It's tough city. Tough fan base. He's such a little pretty boy.
Charmin soft Russell Wilson.
I don't know about that. I don't. I think he's tough.
Maybe.
I just his act wears thin. And lo and behold, man, this dude was selling cream at my door for like beards. Is the dumbest thing ever.
I don't. Okay, maybe he's not soft.
So you kind of wake up. I'm like, get out, dog. Like I'm just mad.
I don't know if Russell Wilson is soft physically. I think he comes off as soft.
Well, and I know in Steeler country,
that's going to be a tough sell.
You have to be a certain way.
Well, it's like we saw with Jason Kelce in Philly, right? That was a good combination of player and city.
Yeah.
That was a really nice harmony of what because I mean, it does matter. There's certain places where it matters. And Pittsburgh's one of those. Maybe it's just a Pennsylvania thing. I don't know. But Pittsburgh's one of those places. Philly's one of those places. I feel like you can get away with a lot more in San Francisco.
No, and they get him for the cheap, so I'm not like...
Yeah, because, I mean, Denver's playing $38 million of that thing?
Yeah.
I read it wrong at first. I'm, like, reading through, and they're like, Steelers get him on the cheap. 1 year, $38 million. I was like, wait, that's not cheap.
You know who got a great deal?
Who?
And I like him. I said this a couple weeks ago. I like him more than most.
Who?
How about Baker Mayfield's deal?
Yeah, 3 years, $100 million?
Yeah, because the first 2 years are like 50 mil.
Yeah.
And so getting that guy for 25 mil, that's
I assume the third year is not guaranteed.
That's pretty legit.
Yeah. I mean, listen, $25 million a year is a pretty average price for a quarterback at this point, right? I mean, you're playing the elite guys 40, 45.
Ask Mac Jones.
Yeah.
Although that's a great landing spot for him.
You think so?
Jacksonville? Oh, yeah, for sure.
Okay.
Well, he didn't get any. Again, like I'm not here to defend.
I don't know if Mac Jones is good or not, but it wasn't a good situation.
No. He had 3 OCs, and 2 of them weren't even qualified.
Yeah, one of them's
Like, what is Patricia doing calling plays?
No, he doesn't know. No one does.
But anyway, like, he didn't have any help.
And we saw him look good as a rookie, so we know there's something there, right?
Dude, I still don't know what to do with that 2021 quarterback class, though. I guess it's still pending.
You and me both, man. So you got what? You got Lawrence?
Yeah, Lawrence, Mac Jones, Fields, Trey Lance.
Yeah.
I mean,
Minnesota's apparently kicking the tires on Trey Lance, which I don't know how you go from, unless you're, I guess, going full rebuild. I don't know how you go from Cousins to Lance.
Why every other day is a new quarterback going to Atlanta? Now it's Kirk Cousins?
I don't think anybody wants to go there. I think
they got a lot of pieces.
I think Justin, I'm guessing it's an upper level issue.
Well, they got a great owner.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I don't know what else it could be.
Yeah.
Right? Like, unless people don't like the coach, GM, owner, the pieces are not bad.
Yeah.
I don't think it's not like you're living in Green Bay, right? Like, it's a real city with real people, Not that Green Bay doesn't have real people, but they don't have a lot of them, you know? I don't get it. I don't understand unless there's something going on at the administrative front office level. I don't know why there isn't.
Just probably being patient.
Maybe. I know Justin Fields wants to go there. I don't know that they're going to trade him.
I'm going home.
Yeah, he's trying to go back to Georgia where he transferred from.
And so this dumb Russell Wilson thing was right on the heels of my man Fiddler on the Roof
in that game winner.
And it was like Omaha finally had a good stretch against North Dakota.
Yeah,
right. Started in hockey.
Yeah,
and then they
swept in hockey,
first time ever,
which is big for them. They
Huge.
needed that.
Huge.
They needed that.
Check are you a pairwise guy?
They're 12.
Yeah,
they're up to 12 in the pairwise. So huge weekend in hockey, and the atmospheres were incredible.
So Hurrdat, I think you talk about
from the top
model behavior.
Yeah.
I think it starts at the top.
Oh, for sure.
Because I think Bill is the biggest Omaha hockey fan I know.
Oh yeah, he's a huge. Well, I mean Omaha in general. He loves Omaha athletics.
Well, was it Avery? Who sent the Gab? It was Avery. Did she send it to us?
Yeah, she sent it to us.
Yeah, I didn't know if it was just me. She sent the Gabs clip.
Yeah, the
referencing Coach Rule. He's like, in his accent, if we die, we die. He said, I love it. I said, okay, Gabs.
I said he's got the thickest hockey accent I've ever heard in my life.
Yeah, he's so much more comfortable with talking to the media than when he first got the job. Like, he's actually kind of funny sometimes.
Yeah, we talked to him on the show once, and he was pretty personable. I liked him.
So I suppose we should land a plan to start somewhere. We better start in college hoops because it's a debacle.
We'll start in college hoops coming up next. I'll also set up the show probably at some point.
I should probably tweet out the lineup too.
Well, yeah, we'll get to it. It's Monday.
The mechanics, man, is still a work in progress.
Mike and the mechanics. All you need is a miracle.
Yeah, I need one to get the lineup out on time.
That's DB. I'm Ravi Lulla. This is Hurrdat Sports Radio. We'll be back on AM 590, ESPN Omaha, ESPN Tri-Cities.
We will be back. 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 You're listening to Hurrdat Sports Radio.
Here's Rogers, 15 to shoot. Back to Guerrier, top of the key to Hawkins. Right wing, Shannon, for three. Got it. Looked good when it left his hand. And Shannon piles up to 23 points. 46-32, Illinois' lead back to 14.
That is now 11 Big East wins, the most since 2010-11 when they won 12. St. John's defeats Georgetown 86-78 at Madison Square Garden with the Big East tournament coming up next week.
Welcome back here on Hurrdat Sports Radio, AM 590, ESPN Omaha, ESPN Tri-Cities. We're live on Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. That's DB. I'm Ravi, Lulla. We're going to set up the show real quick here. Coming up at 8 o'clock, we've got Sam McKewon from the Omaha World Herald. And then at 9 a.m., we've got Mike Sautter. I know we talked to him Friday, but it was a pretty busy weekend in high school hoops.
Friday, gotta get down on Friday.
We did get down and talk to Mike on Friday. Now we got to get down on a Monday and talk to Mike as well, as he was down in Lincoln all week. Well, pretty much the whole week last week, getting boys state basketball covered.
Congrats to the state champs. We'll get to that. What time is that? 8?
He's at 9.
9.
He's at 9. So we
won't talk state champions until 9.
I mean, we can talk state champions whenever you want.
No. We've got to pace ourselves.
I do want to.
Drinking through a fire hose.
I do want to talk about a comment on YouTube. Terrence says,
"Would you try that?
All these great teams you're listing, are they facing the same competition as the mediocre schools you listed?"
So you know what? He's mad.
Why is that?
Because you use Texas as an example.
Well, Texas is mediocre. I don't know what to tell you.
Hey, he's Team Texas, man.
That's fine.
I have Oklahoma Tyler. I should call him Texas Terrence, but I just call him Team Mac.
I'm Team Red Sox, and they're awful. I can say it out loud. It's not a big deal. Like
Ravi Red Sox.
Sure.
I
thought it was L2. I don't know what happened. You got to.
I kind of like L2.
You got to land on a nickname at some point.
I like L2.
No, but that's the point, Terrence. Is these teams playing in major conferences had their opportunity to play their way in, and they're losing double-digit games and really not impressively. I don't want to go through everybody's resume here, but I have gone through a lot of these teams' resumes, and they are not that impressive. That's my point, is the mid-major teams don't get the opportunities to get the wins.
Yeah, Terrence.
Also, most of these teams don't want to play. Most of the power conference teams don't want to play the Indiana States of the world in the non-con. Because if Indiana State has a bad year, or let's say Richie Avila is playing in the non-con, beats your Texas team, and then gets hurt sometime in the Missouri Valley Conference, and they end up being like 15-16. That's a quad 4 loss for Texas.
Hey, don't you love when people low-key put the quarter in my man?
I almost think they put 2 quarters in him.
Terrence is going to clap back. Though.
That's fine. He can clap back all he wants. Tell his Texas team to win more games.
Yeah, I'm not going to do that.
I mean, Indiana State won 28 games, and they're not going to make the NCAA tournament. 28.
Oh, I hear you.
That's too many games to not make the NCAA tournament.
Why are you yelling?
You want me to switch to Nebraska?
I like layup. By the way,
yeah.
Don't tell me you weren't nervous when Nebraska couldn't get a stop.
Yeah, I was real nervous in the first half.
You're like,
I was like, oh, we're just going to play a 110-108 game? Is this the SEC?
And I felt like the higher scoring it got, the more trouble Nebraska was in, but then they settled down.
Yeah, they chilled out a little bit. Michigan remembered that they're
not good.
That they're a 3-14 team in conference, and
boy, are they bad.
They're pretty I felt silly after watching that game, being nervous, because I was like, yeah, it's a really bad basketball team.
They're not good.
It's a really bad basketball team.
But you got to admit, though, that 11 o'clock tip had you shook, didn't it?
Which one?
For Nebraska, Michigan.
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
that's early.
Zoe was still in her pajamas, and I hadn't finished any sort of whatever was going to happen for breakfast.
Yeah.
And she's walking around in a trance, like, it's getting late. And I was like, I have got to use this bacon and sausage. It is going in. And the game was like 17 minutes in already.
Yes, it was. Well, and it was, I think Nebraska was on pace for like 120 at the 10-minute mark. They had 30 points at that point.
Do you think Casey thought he was back at PBA when he ran down to the end of the court to throw up three after a three?
He may have forgot that Michigan isn't about that life.
I knew the minute they put up the stat for the records, because they had referenced it twice, kind of subtly.
Because he had 25 points at halftime, or just
he had
after
23 at the half.
Yeah, so he had 25 right after halftime because he got a quick bucket. And then
we started seeing the graphics.
Yeah, Eric Pikowski, 42 points, and he ends with 30.
Yeah, which is fine.
No, he had a great game, especially in the first half when if he's not shooting the ball well, there might be a little bit of trouble because they weren't getting any stops on Michigan.
And we do it all the time with good, historically good teams like Creighton. We'll look at their path.
Yeah.
And people are like afraid to look at Nebraska's basketball path. Like, well, hey guys, just one game. No, listen, they have a good path to be playing on CBS on Saturday or on Sunday.
Yeah, because
They do.
got what most likely any Indiana.
Yeah, maybe.
Well, I mean, depends on if Indiana
That
wins.
game's definitely winnable.
Yes, whoever, if it's Indiana.
And so then you're looking at maybe seeing Illinois again if they get past Iowa.
Yeah, and
Iowa could get them easily.
Well, and Iowa needs it, right?
Yeah.
Illinois doesn't.
But Iowa didn't come out yesterday like they needed. I kind of liked Iowa yesterday in that one.
Yeah.
Yeah, but they couldn't keep Shannon out of the paint.
I mean, stopping Illinois is really, really hard.
Yeah, they get buckets.
I mean,
but so does
Iowa.
Yeah, and they do it a lot different.
They do. Yeah, it's very different styles.
I was glad to hear because I was talking about this yesterday or last week, and it's only because I know the family because they played with and against Knucklehead in the summer, but both Sanfords. Like Iowa's really, really good offensively, but they do it without really shooting the three,
which is weird
because it's only those two. Josh Dix is starting another fave of mine. You should have seen him as a youngin playing.
He was AL.
He was so nice.
Oh, I remember him.
And he never said a word.
I remember him as like a sophomore at AL.
Yeah, he was pretty sweet.
And that was before I realized that he was definitely playing Division I. And I was like, oh, I like him. and Jason's like, yeah, you're not gonna get him.
Yeah,
like, okay, cool.
Hey, he's
cool.
super kid too.
Yeah,
like amazing. There's another one of those forgotten guys during a good stretch run of basketball.
Yeah,
Josh Dix was sweet. But anyway, it's like I'm looking at their path, and my buddy Degenerate Aaron, he was like, is it okay for me to say? And I was like, he's a lot like he's all in on Nebraska sports, and I don't think he's not he's going to beat his chest a little bit. He's like, hey man, they could be playing on Sunday on CBS. I'm like, yeah, they absolutely could. And you shouldn't feel bad nobody should feel bad for looking at a path to somewhere, because at some point,
if you're a good basketball team, that's what you do.
You think? And it's like let the coaches say things like,
yeah, you don't have to coach because of
but
fans.
you can look at a path and say, oh yeah, I think that's favorable.
But it's, I mean, for Nebraska fans, I don't think it's coach speak. I think it's like the
PTSD.
Trauma.
I get
the
it.
Trauma of having been in good situations before and not taking care of business.
Well,
I think that's why
they haven't been in a lot of good situations.
That's
lately.
Fair. They haven't been. They don't find themselves in good situations often, but when they do, they seem to feel like they get the wool pulled out from under them, or the rug pulled out from under them. And listen, but
you can have wool rugs. It'd be awful expensive.
You've got
was that alpaca?
You've got
nobody can do that.
You've got a 3 seed in the Big Ten tournament. You should be looking at your path to get to Sunday.
Yeah,
like that's what you should be doing.
So, at what point do you think the 4,500 to 5,000 Nebraska fans will be leaving? Friday morning or Thursday night?
I'm guessing Friday. Well, listen, it's a 9 p.m. or 8 p.m. start for Nebraska.
And it's a smooth 5 hours.
So, I mean, you might get a half a day in the office before.
Check in at 2. Nobody's. If you're going to the game, you're not going to work.
You're not working a Friday morning there?
Listen, heck to the no.
Working like an 8 to 12, and then you pack up the car, get up there.
No sir.
By 5, check into the hotel.
No, sir.
Got a couple hours before tip.
Yeah, that's what I think people will do.
Yeah.
But you're not going to work, though.
I mean, come on, go to work, guys.
What are you going to do from 7 to 10 at the office?
No, I'm talking you go from like 8 to 1 even. You're fine.
1?
Yeah, 1 or noon. You got 4 hours.
You want to drive in downtown Minneapolis during rush hour?
Okay, go from 7 to 11. Then you get 4 hours in. Take care of some calls.
Always open.
I think I have some audio that'll cover what you're gonna do.
Hit me, Shane.
See you. Have a good day. Love you.
It's pretty much what it's gonna be.
Look at Dookie Clint chime in.
I don't know how that's relevant in any way.
Nebraska basketball is Lucy holding the football, and Nebraska fans are Charlie Brown. Really? Hey, go root for another guy that likes to trip Tar Heels. All right there, Dookie Clint.
Listen, that's a tough look for your guy, Kyle Flopakowski over there.
But good morning to Sarah, because she actually has some sense.
We will be back to wrap up our
I can't believe he had nerve enough to say that.
He
cheer for the consummate underachievers.
Well, I mean, listen, he couldn't get a W. He's got to talk smack somewhere.
Start to finish, they got beat.
We will be back to wrap
Just
up hour
saying.
number 1. Continue to talk all kinds of hoops here on Hurrdat Sports Radio, AM 590, ESPN Omaha, ESPN Tri-Cities.
We will be back. We will be back.
Is there any doubt? Mason Gillis a 3 straight away.
It's splash.
Here's Clark.
We will be back. We will be back. You're listening to Hurrdat Sports Radio.
Here's Clark. Takes a 3. Now backs it up. Fires a 3. Count it! Left to the top of the key. Was there any doubt? Mason Gillis a 3 straight away. Triple time! Get it!
Man, Mason Gillis, what a knack for just drilling huge triples late in these games. He loves that top of the key area, pops to it, Creighton hits him, it's splash.
Wrapping up hour number 1 here on Hurrdat Sports Radio, AM 590, ESPN Omaha, ESPN Tri-Cities. That's DB. I'm Ravi Lulla. We're live on Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube as well. A lot of hoops so far this morning, but there was some volleyball down in Orlando on Saturday as well. Omaha Supernovas were able to win a 5-set thriller against the Orlando Valkyries, and if you want to get in on the action, they are back at home.
They're all going 5, it seems, doesn't it?
I mean, they had a stretch there where they were kind of taking care of business, but I think as the league kind of goes on, we're talking to Coach Kuhn last week, I think you're going to see a lot of these as teams start to get more comfortable because there's not a ton
and familiarity.
And I don't know that there's a ton of talent differential. You're talking about all really talented teams and players. So you're going to see a super high level of volleyball on Thursday, March 14th and Saturday, March 16th. They're back here in Omaha. You can go to supernovas.com to get tickets. You can also shop, check out the roster, look at the latest news and everything there as well, supernovas.com. Also a reminder, we'll give away tickets to both of those matches later on in the week. So make sure you tune in for your chance to win, or, just to make sure you get tickets, you go buy them. Yeah. Supernovas.com. Always a good time. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say it's interesting that, like, in that highlight, you hear Caitlin Clark, and she was fantastic, especially in crunch time. But, man, between Potts and Jazz Shelley and Alexis Markowski, it was an unbelievable basketball game.
People love the long shots.
Well, and you texted me, you go, Markowski's out here trying to kill Iowa.
Yeah, like she was unbelievably efficient early. Yes. I was like,
and then she came back to earth a little bit, but
I mean, she had a heck of a tournament. I believe her and Jazz were both on the alternate team.
I believe so. Yeah.
You didn't by any chance see, like, maybe it was cut up or on Twitter of Shelley hitting the one-hand floater going to her left?
I don't remember.
It was like, it's a horse shot. she made it. She made it look pretty easy. It was against Maryland, so it was
I'm trying to remember
night before, and I believe if Andy did it, good on him. I'm almost 95% sure. I heard Markowski on the early broadcast for state basketball, and then must have went to Minnesota. Listen, because I'm serious. I'm dead dog serious.
Gotta get that work in.
I was like, good on him. And I've tried to pull that off, right? You coach one.
It's tough.
I remember pulling into Ann Arbor for the broadcast. It started at, I don't know, 4 hours before 10. So it started at 10:30.
Yeah.
And I walked in that bad boy at like 10:28. So I get it, but a daddy dedication.
Listen, you got to be there. They're for a good chunk of that game. It looked like they were going to be able to pull off the upset.
Unbelievable. How about Iowa getting by with a little help from her friends? Because for as poorly as, and I said this in air quotes, I was like, why do you guys she's her own benchmark? And yeah, she didn't shoot it well in the first half, but her adjusted field goal percentage was still over 60%.
Still pretty
and
good.
She was dropping dimes.
Still 12 assists.
I couldn't. So I thought Nebraska really had a chance to go up 2 scores. And she hit a step back 3 off the bounce. And I was like, oh boy, this is, I don't know. They just couldn't pull it away.
Yeah, that's the reason you have one of those players. Right?
I like Nebraska's action too. I wish they would have initiated it a little quicker, but I like the action at the end of regulation to get the look from overtime. Although it was either going to be that, or I just wanted like high screen and roll. Like just give me a ball screen, let Jazz and Alexis go to work. But I did. It took a little too long. It was rushed.
Yeah.
But the play design was pretty nice.
Yeah, and I have a really hard time if you don't want to be in a 1-score game when Caitlin Clark is on the other side or somebody like her, right? And then there's not a lot of people like her, don't get me wrong. But when you're playing a team that has one of those players, like, you really got to make sure you're not in a 1-score game against her.
I was really surprised to hear Coach Bluter say. She said Nebraska is a 4 seed at minimum. Isn't that weird?
I mean, I think, she's seen Nebraska play really well a couple times now. Obviously, you had the one in Lincoln. You have this one that goes to overtime.
I mean, because they'll be the third number 1.
Yeah, Iowa will be a 1.
They're a 1.
One of their only. I mean,
maybe the second.
It might be. I mean, because it's even with it's South Carolina probably the overall 1.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah, and then I mean, you can make an argument for Iowa as the second one.
And she's pretty definitive. So I'm like quietly, especially with Nebraska's injuries early.
Yeah.
And again, I wouldn't call it a blind spot because I can be, I mean, she would want me to be objective, but I mean, knowing Coach Williams as long as, I almost said Coach Gusso, knowing Coach Williams as long as I have, especially being neighbors, like literally.
Yeah.
They're there. Everybody's kind of, and you got Omaha in the semis. How about that?
Got Omaha in the semis.
So what about Creighton women's, their seed? Because yesterday, I don't know. It didn't look like basketball.
No, it's not something I was familiar with.
But I'm telling you, basketball is having a little bit of a problem this year.
Okay, talk to me.
Just the behavior.
Oh yeah. So I'm
just the behavior.
Can we go to Friday night for a second?
Sure. You talking about in Lincoln?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So I thought for the most part, and you were there, I wasn't. I was watching on TV. I thought for the most part didn't seem overly chippy. Like I think there's maybe some.
It was extremely well officiated.
Yes, I thought they kept it under control.
I like the way and they set the tone, and that was a really good crew.
But then at
one of the better crews I've seen.
End of the game, we had that situation. I thought it was going to lead to a brawl, if I'm being totally honest.
Yeah.
Where it was 15 for Miller North. I forget his name off the top of my head. There's a steal. The clock is expired. Right, he goes up for a dunk.
I think that was Neal. Was it Monster?
It wasn't Monster. It was
Moni.
It was Moni. Because
good dude.
Jacob and I were texting back. We're like, I'm not even sure if he can dunk. To be honest, I don't know what he was doing.
Yeah.
Which maybe he can, but whatever. It was like a full. I mean, the buzzer.
He made some great plays early. He plays so stinking hard.
The buzzer has gone off. Miller North has won in overtime, and he's going up. He gets a steal that seals the game. He's going up for a dunk. He's excited and. One for Westside.
Ricky
Lofton.
Grown face.
Goes up to challenge it, and it's a pretty physical interaction there. I thought we were going to be in some trouble.
Yeah, they know each other, so I think cooler heads prevailed.
I just don't know what either guy was doing in that situation.
I know. I get it.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, it's like you have.
Because I don't know what Moni's doing trying to go for a dunk when the buzzer. Like, I get he's excited, right?
Yeah. I mean, young people.
But also, then Lofton, nothing he does in that situation changes the outcome.
Yeah.
Not a single thing.
Unless maybe he's thinking he's not paying attention to the clock situation.
Right, but the buzzer had gone off. Like, so if he just doesn't hear it, I don't know. Maybe he's got tunnel vision. I don't know. But I don't know what either guy was doing in that situation. And I think they're very lucky.
No one got hurt.
That A, no one got hurt, and B, it didn't set something off. And I will say, you mentioned the officials. They got in there really fast.
They
got in there really fast between
the whole game. I was sitting next to DJ and his little guy Vinny, and we were just talking about them getting control. And I don't know if it was he and I, or it might have been Jacob. We felt like the game was being called in such a way where if you wanted to initiate contact and be a little bit physical, like you were going to have to adjust because they weren't going to give you anything.
No.
And it was a really, especially for the environment.
Mm-hmm.
It was loud. It was crowded. You okay over there?
Yeah, I'm good. I see my chair just got stuck on a rock.
Oh my!
I thought he screamed or something. I don't know what happened.
We're doing, but it was a really
it was a very good high school basketball game.
Yeah,
I mean,
they didn't shoot it well.
No,
but you could just tell like both teams had kind of been there, really poised.
I was super impressed with West Side because I don't always love the way their offense runs.
Me neither.
They can get kind of stuck in the mud a little bit.
I still didn't like it on Friday night.
I didn't either, but their defense was good enough on Miller North.
It kept them in it.
Yes, because Miller North, I actually, for a high school offense,
they're really good.
They execute. And listen, I'm not hating on high school offenses, but
I'm telling you,
don't get a super high level offensive execution that often in high school. A lot of times it's like, hey, we've got 2 or 3 guys that are just better than all your guys, so we're going to score a ton of points.
Like their sets offensively
really good,
are arguably
really good.
They're the best, but they don't have the matchups that Bellevue West does.
Yes,
see, Bellevue West can get you. Obviously, Jaden Jackson is, but when Polchek got hurt, it was like they didn't skip a beat. McMorris steps up. Garcia does his thing.
Yeah.
And they're big bodies. And Rope had an exceptional tournament.
It's funny that you bring that up with Miller North because
they're tough to guard.
Yes, but for their personnel, you wouldn't think they're nearly as good as they are.
I'm telling you,
they're good.
When I talk about their
they have nice personnel. They don't have special personnel.
Oh, they're well coached.
I mean, what's the highest level that one of those guys is going to play at?
I don't know, but they're well coached.
They're incredibly well coached, and they execute at a super high level. They're going to be a really nice fit for somebody at the next level as well.
We will be back. We will be back. We will be back. We will be back. You're listening to Hurrdat Sports Radio. Here is the sports editor for the Omaha World Herald, Sam McKewon.
That's fine.
Sam McKewon.
We're gonna throw the ball, and you just stand back there and throw it where you want to go. And that kind of thing.
Sam McKewon.
Are you guys going? Sure.
Now, Sam McKewon.
Kicking off hour number 2 with DB and me on AM 590 ESPN Omaha, ESPN Tri-Cities. This is Hurrdat Sports Radio. Joining us now on the phone is Sam McKewon from the Omaha World Herald. Sam, how are you this morning?
Great, guys. How are you?
Good. You're gonna get a couple nice to nice back days, Sam. A couple of back-to-back nice days. How about that?
There we go.
Yeah, I'm glad. It's spring break down here in Lincoln, so
yeah, it's funny too. I saw, I don't know, probably 15 guys since last Wednesday, and to a young man, they said, "I can't wait for spring break." Right, like they have been. I think it has been pretty grindy for these guys in winter conditioning, and the schedule breaks well, right? So they get a break. Then they come back and have one more week of winter conditioning before they start spring ball, because Coach Rule is one of those data shows we need 8 weeks of winter conditioning.
8 weeks. That's a lot.
Yeah, like he's got a lot of data on it.
Mm-hmm.
The 8 versus the 6 are breaking it up after the 7, and he says, I know there's a little bit of a concern that you could come back from the break and get an injury, but he said either way, you could be darned if you do, darned if you don't. The data, he wants 8 weeks.
How are they looking?
Pretty good as best. I mean, they're big, like good sized guys. I think the caloric intake and the workouts, I think growing is a must, right? It's inevitable. Fudge, even Alvano looked yoked. Jalen Lloyd looks good, and he hasn't even been lifting like the other guys because of track.
Yeah,
and he looks good. I don't know. It's we'll see how it translates, but a lot of the guys look good.
That's good. Alvano's going to have a good second year. He'll be one of those.
He feels really good. He feels really good. I think he's learned to handle the college rigor and the criticism that comes from being at Nebraska in the media, because he's never gone through that before. Right. So
That's right. Yeah.
All those things that we kind of take for granted and kind of shrug off, they're real things for young people. A lot of those guys.
They are. The best kickers in Nebraska history usually have a jump from their freshman and sophomore years. I mean, Chris Brown, I think he would say he got better, and Alex Henry certainly did. Drew Brown did. So, Brett Maher did. All those guys, they make a jump as they get older, and by the time they're seniors, they're really good. And I think that's where Albano will be. He'll win a game for him at some point. I don't know if it's this upcoming year, but in the next year or two, he will.
He said he feels explosive, so I thought that was cool. Let me look.
It's not something you hear from kickers a lot.
No, but you're right.
Good.
It is.
It's positive, but that's not something you expect to hear from a kicker.
He did say explosive. Sam, let's start with basketball, and I'll let you pick men's or women's.
Either one is fine with me. They both played yesterday at the same time,
Yeah, I mean, tough draw, but you can't peg Nebraska women in at that championship time slot. I mean, that's television, right?
Yeah.
Let's start there. When you look at the performance, a couple of the early season injuries, playing without Darian White for a while, when you look at the job, all things considered, one of the better coaching jobs you've seen on campus?
Yeah, they had a good year. Certainly, Widener getting hurt didn't help them. This would have been a better team with her.
Yeah.
By a couple of games, for sure. And they had to adjust a little bit, I think every coaching job starts with recruiting.
and they got the 3 freshmen right. So these 3 freshmen were really, really good. And I know one of them has a little bit different stats than the other 2, but she's good too. And they got that right. So, they got the right players, and I think they've got the right players coming in again next year and the year after that. And so, I think they're building good recruiting classes, which helps. I think that they're, they got Alexis Markowski to a point where she just sort of doesn't slow down. Like, she's not a perfect player. I think she would tell you that. And there's times when, she's frustrated by whatever, her lack of offensive efficiency around the rim, but she just keeps coming, and that's the thing that's changed is I think she could get down on herself a couple of years ago and she doesn't now. And so, I think they've changed it from, and you got to do this with a lot of athletes, perfectionism to resilience. And there's a difference, perfectionism is actually not the best quality, because what happens is if you don't do it right or you don't get it right, you get overly discouraged. And, so what you need is a standard, a high standard, and a resilience to it. And I feel like Amy Williams really believes in that, but I think she's been trying to build programs to that for a while. And I think they have that. I think some of the emotion that you saw, although I thought it was notable how much they had after the loss, because they have an NCAA tournament left.
Yeah.
I think some of that was related to, this is a team now that really doesn't allows itself to be disappointed because they actually thought they could win. And I think there's been years where they were good, but I don't know, we did pretty well, and they sort of accept that standard. And I think they've actually moved beyond that, and they've built a good chemistry there and a good culture there, and they have a chance in the NCAA tournament if they get the right draw to have some fun. We'll see what their seeding is.
We're talking with Sam McKewon from the Omaha World Herald. Sam, speaking of seeding, currently ESPN's bracketology has them at an 8. Coach Bluter from Iowa said they're a 4 minimum. Were you surprised to hear her say that, or is that kind of just being complimentary of an opponent that's played her tough?
A little both, but they're not going to be a 4. She knows that. Bluter knows that.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's probably been an earned respect between the 2 programs in this particular year. I think things are pretty frosty between Nebraska and Iowa women's.
Yeah.
I don't think that's true of them. I don't think that's true of the men. So, I think Fred Hoiberg and Fran McCaffrey have always gotten along and have always felt, whatever you want to call it. They appreciate each other and respect each other. But I think there's you're seeing that thaw a little bit between the 2 women's programs based on, the win a month ago and the way that they played on Sunday. I think Iowa, and I think Caitlin Clark's driving some of that a little bit. I think she's probably said some good things. And so, I think Nebraska will be an 8 or a 7. It's not a strong 1 line this year. South Carolina is a strong 1. But the other teams that are going to be ones, one of them is probably going to be Iowa. Nebraska won't be in that pod. Another one's probably going to be Texas. And the third one will be from the fourth one will probably be from the Pac-12.
Mm-hmm.
My hunch is it'll be
SC.
USC.
Yeah.
And, USC is inconsistent. I mean, I've watched them more than most.
Well, you saw Juju this weekend, right? I mean, that's kind of what you can get with her.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, I've watched them quite a bit, and we'll see. So they're somewhat similar to Iowa. So it's not the strongest 1 line, and the 2 line is very manageable. So you just never know. I mean, they need to get a good draw. They could lose in the first round too. I mean, there's teams that they could play in the first round, Oklahoma, something like that. And that wouldn't be a great matchup. So it's the same thing with Creighton's women. They have a chance to go to the Sweet 16 too, but they need the right draw. If they draw the wrong team in the first round, then they're probably going to be a 7 or 6 or 7 seed. It won't necessarily go well there either.
Yeah, I'm still traumatized from that Big East semifinal game yesterday with Georgetown. And credit to no disrespect to Georgetown. I'm not going to come on Omaha radio and say everybody should know Georgetown's story, but with an interim coach and kind of what they've been through, I mean, that was a bottom feeder pick to finish, I don't know, almost dead last in the conference. The way that game was allowed to be played yesterday when commentators are like, okay, enough's enough, like there's an issue. Right? It's a lot.
Yeah.
It's a lot. It's a lot of bad basketball.
Yeah. And Jim Flannery's used to that in that setting. This happened now for years. It happens a little bit at the Big Ten tournament, but yeah, I mean, it's the level of physicality is over the top, and a lot of these games they want to let them play, and that's kind of the mantra. And don't let it necessarily be settled at the free throw line. Creighton actually, had a lot more free throws than Seton Hall the night before. I don't know. I mean, again, that's why I say it's got to be the right matchup. The one thing that you can say about Iowa, as an example, is they don't really want to foul you. They don't really want to play physical. They want to play sort of an older school, basketball where everybody kind of scores and moves around. Well, that favors teams that don't also want to do that. And so the way that you beat teams like Nebraska and Creighton is you really just sort of,
muck it up,
physical them up. And Creighton will have to work through that. They've got to find a way to play through it and not just merely hope, quote unquote, they're going to play teams like Iowa and Iowa State that don't want to do that. You have to find ways to beat the teams that are more like Connecticut, which is the team that Creighton struggles to beat because of their physicality and their athleticism.
Sam, can I make the argument that when refs just swallow their whistle for entire games, they're not actually letting them play, they're preventing them from actually playing a game of basketball, and they're just letting them play like there's men playing wrestling? Like, that's not bad. That's why I hate the Hurleys, because they always do this. Like, they prevent people from playing basketball and they're rewarded for it. Like, I'm sorry, you guys set me off a little bit here. Like, it is one of my biggest pet peeves about basketball is when they're just like, oh, let them play. It's like, no one is playing basketball when that happens.
Yeah, you're preaching to the choir here. I know you guys talk to a bunch of basketball folks who cover the teams more rigorously than I do. You should ask them what they think good officiating is, because what I tend to see a lot of is people don't like it when too many fouls are called. But I don't know. Like, I don't really know what good officiating is. In basketball, I don't, because I don't cover the sport closely enough. I watch way more women's basketball than I do men's, and I watch quite a bit of men's, but not as much. So I'm not sure, like, what is good officiating. I'm sure, Higgins could come on and talk about that. Like, what is good basketball officiating? Because it feels like bad officiating is calling anything. So a good, well officiated game is when there's no free throws. So I'm not sure what people want in that arena, but it feels like most of the criticism that I see on Twitter is related to too many fouls being called. So, apparently people want, very physical, throwing around basketball. Maybe that's what they want.
Can I pull out like an old school, like, Supreme Court reference to you and say, I can't define it for you, but I know it when I see it? When it comes to officiating, sure. Like, I just want it to look like a basketball game. I don't care how many fouls there are. I don't care how many free throws there are. I need it to look less like rugby and more like basketball. That's all I'm asking for.
I don't blame you. I think that's very fair, and I would agree with you.
Sam, so Trev had some comments last week, kind of doing a little bit of a media talk with a couple of folks. Yeah. Can you have non-conference scheduled talks without having any sort of conference uniformity, or do you think it's just like, oh, if we play 9 games and we have an 18-team conference, it doesn't make sense to schedule tough in the non-con? And I only asked the question because I couldn't roll my eyes any harder over the last month and a half about people crying about Nebraska's non-con schedule. I'm like, they played 9 conference games. Like, who do you want them to play? If you're winning, people are coming. Nobody's paying attention to the non-con. I couldn't believe we spent 6 weeks whining over the non-con schedule. Until you get some uniformity, it's a non-starter.
Yeah. So
don't let me talk you into that. You could be like, DB, you're all wet.
No. I think that the strategy is related to everybody kind of getting on the same page. I wrote about this last week.
Yeah.
Michigan, I think, let's see, I have to go back and look at it, but it's unbelievable. The amount of hardship that Nebraska put on itself compared to Michigan. And so it's kind of like an amazing stat. I think
and they still went on to win a national title.
Oh yeah. Like
oh, by the way,
it didn't hurt. It didn't hurt them whatsoever. Michigan did not play a single non-conference road game in 21, 22, and 23. And they played all their first 4 games at home. Not only did they not play a road game, but they played their first 4 games at home. They finished 12-7. In Nebraska's first 4 games across those 3 seasons, Nebraska finished 5-7. But they played 2 non-conference road games, 2 conference road games, and a neutral site conference game too.
Yep.
And they lost all of those. So some of this is okay. They played Oklahoma and Colorado. They got tied to those games back during the Tom Osborne era. That's when those games were tied. And it was designed as a way of like building relationships back with the Big 12 foes, which is whatever. But then this other thing was built around all of the Ireland stuff. And so, it was like, oh my God, got to play in Ireland. And then COVID canceled one of them. And so they decided to go play at Illinois to start the season. That was a mistake. I can go either way on the Ireland trip. I went. It's a lifelong memory. I'm glad I went. I'm glad the game happened. I'm not sure.
Well, their own coach didn't want to go. So, I mean, there was no reason to play it.
Then the following year, because of tolerances that Nebraska put forth during the Sean Eichhorst era, Nebraska was selected to go play at Minnesota. And then somebody in the process thought it'd be a good idea to have them play Minnesota and Colorado back-to-back. Obviously not Matt Rule. So the Matt Rule era starts with 2 road games. And then, and he admitted this. Wow, those road games were a little bit more intense than I thought they would be. Like, yeah, I mean, welcome to college football, west of the Mississippi and north of Oklahoma. Like, yeah, the people up here are, and of course the thing that happened with Deion Sanders was what it was. It was a fun place to be. I'm glad I went to all those games. But Nebraska should aim for what Michigan's doing. And until Michigan is forced to do something else, I don't know why Nebraska would do it. Now, that's hard for Nebraskans to think about because we have this still embedded in the back of our mind that we're the 95 Huskers, and that your team is taking the field every year, and it's not.
Well, you're not going to win anything of substance until you stop having sub 500 records or plus or having the best record since 16 at home this year, going 4-3. Like, until you start winning at home, until you start winning, period, these are non-starter conversations, right? Like, and I'm not saying, well, just win, because that's like the end game, but they're at least making steps in the interim to give themselves a chance to win. They're not just bottom lining it and saying, well, no crap, like, just win. Winning solves everything. Yeah, they're actually trying to put some procedures and protocols in place to give them some advantages to help win. There's nothing wrong with that.
Nothing wrong with that. I'll say this: beat Colorado this year. Beat them. They're here. We can't pretend that Colorado is a stable program. They do have a good quarterback, in my opinion, but it's not a stable.
I don't know if you read, Sam. They rebuilt their offensive line through the portal. They should be pretty good.
I'm sure they did. But
I'm just saying.
Here, they're going to have very few fans. Colorado fans do not travel, and so they're Deion Sanders is just going to be a coach. He's not going to have 60,000 people in the stands. So beat them. Like, don't. That game has nothing to do with scheduling. That game just has to do with Colorado is 3-0 against Nebraska since 2018. 3-0. And they weren't great Colorado teams. In fact, all of them had losing records. So beat Colorado. Like, that's a start. That's a big game for the Rule era, because that isn't going to be about anything other than, can Nebraska do the things, be who they say they are, and beat a mediocre Colorado team, which is exactly what it'll be. Now, we'll see what happens. we can be very critical of Deion Sanders. That's fine. Anybody who wants to be can. But, I was at the game last year. Looks like Deion had his team ready to play. And Nebraska did not look ready to handle whatever was going on in the first half of that game on offense. And, it wasn't just Tony White's job to prepare a team, and he did. He prepared his side. But both sides have to be prepared. Nebraska should win that game. If everything that we think is true about the program right now is true, then they should win that game.
We're talking with Sam McKewon from the Omaha World Herald. Sam, let's switch to Creighton real quick here on the men's side because, I'm watching that game on Saturday, and obviously they get out to the huge lead, and then that evaporates, and Villanova comes all the way back, and then Creighton gets the game winner from Trey Alexander. Just what do you make of that game with all of the – I mean, it was sort of a roller coaster if you're – watching that from a Creighton perspective. Just what do you make of that at all?
Given the need for Villanova to win that game and that it probably felt like a NCAA tournament game to them to make the NCAA tournament, I think it's, you walk out of there with a 1-point win and you're happy, and they won by 2. So I'm sure they're doubly happy. I think that's how you look at it. Villanova's a hard team for Creighton to play. That's been evident over the last however many years.
At least Dixon is, that's for sure.
Yeah, Villanova's always been hard for Creighton to play, but you go back 5 years and they were basically playing the same kind of game. Villanova was just a little better at it. Now Villanova kind of plays differently, and I think that's challenging for Creighton. They play a style kind of like St. John, where it's kind of possession by possession. I think there's a good chance we're going to see round 3 in New York City, and I think it'll probably go down to the last couple possessions again. And Creighton's fine with that. Right now, Creighton is, depending on who you look at, the top 3 seed and could move up to a 2. And then they win the Big East tournament. I think they will be a 2 seed. I anticipate that. I think that would, and they can do it. They got to get past the first round game. Then they have to play, I would assume, a healthy Marquette, but there's no guarantee Marquette will be there. There really is. They might be, but they could also face, a good Providence team that also doesn't match up well with Creighton. And then I think you will see Connecticut waiting on Saturday night for whoever. Creighton. I hope everybody reads John Walker's profile today on Ryan Kalkbrenner in the paper. It's really good. And Kalkbrenner in there says, I would give up winning another Defensive Player of the Year for a Big East tournament title. I think that's the one thing that Creighton hasn't done.
Yeah.
In Greg McDermott's time, and they've come close a couple of times, and I think they're going to put a lot of energy toward doing that because I think they feel confident about their approach in the NCAA tournament. And so I think they're gonna try to win very much this weekend, and if they do that, they're gonna get rewarded, I think, with a 2 seed, which would be one heck of an accomplishment.
That's Sam McKewon from the Omaha World Herald. Sam, we appreciate your time as always. We'll talk to you next week.
Appreciate you, Sam.
Take care.
That's our friend Sam McKewon from the Omaha World Herald. What?
John is not happy with our audio. We need to fix it.
Yeah, we'll work on that. I don't know if it's getting fixed over the break, but we'll see what we can do, John.
Shane and Sasha are magicians.
That's DB. I'm Ravi Lulla.
Kind of like Ashworth.
Hurrdat Sports Radio on AM 590, ESPN Omaha, ESPN Tri-Cities.
We will be back. 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 You're listening to Hurrdat Sports Radio.
We're halfway through the show here on AM 590, ESPN Omaha, ESPN Tri-Cities. We're live on Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. That's DB. I'm Ravi Lulla from the Hurrdat Sports Bar and Grill. And I want to tell you about our friends over at the Team Jack Foundation. You can get involved no matter what time of year it is. No, they just had their gala a couple weeks ago, but you can get involved at any time at teamjackfoundation.org, see their upcoming events. Just donate directly on the page. They've raised over $12 million and counting so far. And their goal, plain and simple, finding better treatment for kids with brain cancer and one day a cure. Treatments currently used are over 45 years old and can be highly toxic. Even if a child survives a brain tumor, they are often left with lifelong difficulties due to the toxic treatments. We're trying to find a better way. We're hoping Team Jack Foundation can help find a better way by partnering with the Dana-Farber Cancer Institute, Memorial Sloan Kettering, Columbia University, and of course our very own Nebraska Medical Center. Get involved at teamjackfoundation.org. All right, as we're halfway through the show here, some good stuff there with Sam. We've got a lot we can get to, DB. What's eating at you right now?
Well,
Because it seemed like you wanted to get back into the high school stuff a little bit.
Cam Newton, you put me on the spot. No, I did. So the only thing with that is with the officiating and like the crowd control and all of that. I mean, we saw Carter Nelson. He got his leg grabbed. We saw what happened with college. But like, I don't know what's wrong
with people,
with like us in general.
I mean, I have a theory. I don't know if it's right.
Competitive moments?
No, I mean
because you know what? Because people do stuff like in the moment, and maybe it's more cameras. It's not really that, because some of the stuff is just blatant. They're not even like trying to hide it.
So there's two options here, right? In my opinion, either it's always been like this, and we just are seeing it more now because there's cameras everywhere and there's social media, so it gets repurposed more and whatever, right? Because there was a time where you had 3 channels, and if you only had so much time to show so many things during that time, so if there was a fight or something, maybe it gets mentioned, but you don't get the video.
We couldn't see all the clutching and grabbing in the vaunted 80s NBA that you love. You love when people reference the 80s. I'm sure they threw elbows then too, right?
Yeah, they did, and that's what apparently some people want to see out of basketball. And I would like them to I'd like to actually see them play basketball. You want to see people throw elbows? Go watch the WWE. That's fine. You can do whatever you want, or go watch UFC, MMA, whatever. I would like to see them actually play basketball.
Wow! Shout out Dustin Poirier. Ooh wee.
Like I know I'm crazy, but when I turn on a basketball game or I go to a basketball game, I would like to see basketball actually be played. Like, I know it's a hot take, but the other option is that something has happened in the last handful of years that have made people lose their minds. And you can make an argument. I don't know if it's the right argument or not, but you can make the argument that since COVID, people got a little more isolated. They forgot how to act.
You think that's it?
I think it's possible.
That's interesting.
I think it's possible.
That's interesting.
Like, listen, I know some people still went to work, but a lot of people went to work from home. A lot of people were much more isolated.
I know we're a lot more reckless on social media since COVID.
Social media is part of it.
People talk out of their, yeah.
So people were getting reckless on the internet already, right? And it's gotten worse. But people were getting reckless on the internet already. But I think because of how isolated we became for like a year-ish, year and a half, however long it was, I think people forgot to turn their "hey, I'm in public" filter on, and they stayed on their Twitter filter, which is say whatever I want, do whatever I want, be totally reckless and a crazy person. Sometimes filters are a good thing. I know Apostrophe, you know, our old friend over Michael Severe.
Yeah.
He used to always say, like, no, I like it out in the open. It's like, no, I would like you to keep your crazy at home. I don't listen, if you want to be racist, sexist, homophobic, I'm going to say you're dumb and you shouldn't do that. But if you're going to do that at home by yourself. Be by yourself when you do that. I don't need it out in public.
Yeah.
Or if you're going to get in fights with people and handshake lines or whatever was happening with LSU, like, do that. Keep your crazy at home. Okay, I don't need the crazy out in the open.
Okay, but like, are you surprised? For instance, like, are you surprised at like Mulkey's response? Are you surprised that
no, because she's crazy.
You know, Shire hasn't said like there's some. It was crazy for basketball.
So here's
this weekend.
Here's the other thing that is a problem societally. I don't know if it's a since COVID thing, if it's just a forever thing.
I mean, did you were probably on the road. You didn't see any like Georgetown and Creighton, like women's yet. Like
I saw some. I watched about half.
What was that? Somebody was, and she. Hopefully her knee's okay, but like somebody almost like did get hurt. Like it's just weird.
I don't know why people are acting crazy. First of all, like
I shouldn't throw the Johnson Brog thing with Ainsworth, like. Because that stuff happens. I don't think it was like malicious. I think it was like kind of a knee-jerk thing. Well, that's a bad
analogy.
Term. Or maybe you didn't want to get stepped on. So I don't.
So here's my thing.
I don't want to throw that in the same category as like what happened with LSU and South Carolina.
I tend to separate what happens.
Tripping guys.
Well, Philip. I mean, that's just a Duke thing. I mean, that's as. It's like death taxes and Dookie's being stupid. I don't know.
Nope. You're going to get Dookie Clint to call in.
I don't care. That's fine. He can call in if he wants to call in.
T-Mac has some choice words for you, too.
888-638-4876. T-Mac, well, what do we have, T-Mac? What do we got here? We got anything? I don't even see it on here.
It's too long.
It's fine. He must have texted you. He didn't hit me up on that. That's
Well,
fine.
he said, so in between dropping the kids off and driving to work, my phone was blowing up a little bit with some Texas slander from Mr. Lulla. I'd like to inform Mr. Lulla the following about his beloved Sycamores. How many wins over teams in the top 100? Net rating 0. Ranked their conference schedule 300. 23 of 28 wins. Q3, Q4. No D1s.
Is it Indiana
Off a
State's
loss
fault
to
they
Illinois
play-
Store. They can still make it as an at-large, but they lost to Drake as the 1 seed in the tourney. I think he wants you to just keep Texas out of your mouth.
I don't care. Texas is is Texas winning a national championship?
No, that's don't.
I'm bringing.
Don't go to the extreme.
I'm not. I'm bringing it all. I'm starting the extreme. I'm bringing it all the way back.
Okay, no,
they're not winning a national championship.
No.
Texas is a powerful player.
What's up, Mac?
Would you bet on them to make a Final Four?
No.
Would you bet on them to make a Sweet 16?
No.
So we know we've seen Texas. This is my point. Yeah, they don't have a lot. Indiana State doesn't have a lot of those opportunities. My point against the power, because he's just going to the analytics. Like the analytics are based on all the things that he's talking about, right? The quad 1 wins and strength of schedule and whatever, right? I'm not denying any of that. That wasn't my point. I need you to listen a little bit better, T-Mac. Okay? You're hearing what you want to hear because you like Texas, and that's fine. All right? Let's use Creighton as an example instead, okay? Because I like Creighton. I'll use Creighton as an example. If Creighton was sitting here at 19-14 or whatever Villanova is, 17-13, whatever Villanova is, right? I would be making the same argument against Creighton making the NCAA tournament because they've had their opportunities and we know what they look like against good teams. You had your chance. Go home. Indiana State has not had those opportunities. A lot of these mid-major teams have not had the opportunity to prove themselves against good competition. They deserve that. Otherwise, why do we have 300 teams in Division I? So let's just split it off.
Is that that might a little bit, if I squint and tilt my head, maybe something similar I'm saying to the non-con schedule either. Why do I think the non-con is overblown? Because you're going to play 9 conference
100%.
games in a monster conference.
If you're a group of 5
so
team,
you'll have every opportunity
yes.
to get it right.
If you're a group of 5 team in college football now we're talking about, you should go play the hardest non-con you can because you're not going to get those games in your conference, right? That's why Gonzaga schedules the way they do, to give themselves any kind of chance at an at-large. Mm-hmm. That's the only reason they have a chance at an at-large this year is because they go out and schedule a non-con like nobody else in the country, and they've done it for a decade, right? Here's the problem, though. Most teams won't play anyone other than Gonzaga because they know Gonzaga is not going to go down as a bad loss. You go play Indiana State, 50-50 at best that's a bad loss. You go play Drake, 50-50 at best, that's a bad loss because of these stupid metrics.
Well, the point that I would have made, and again, this is kind of morphed into what I was originally going with Indiana State, is the point that I would make too, where I think you could really make a case if you didn't want to continue it, is a lot of teams don't want to play Drake in Indiana
That's what I mean.
And they don't want to play him.
They don't want to play him because they know they can lose.
Like
and they know it's not going to look good.
They'll schedule you. They'll try to schedule you.
Yes.
But most teams don't want to
I
play
know
him.
this for a fact because it happened to Creighton for years. Nobody wants to play those teams. So they have a really hard time. Gonzaga had to be good for like 15 years before anybody would play him in the non-con. They had to.
Yeah.
Texas has had their chance to prove whether they're good or not. We found out they're not.
Kind of why Nebraska baseball schedule. I know what you're saying.
Indiana hasn't had that opportunity, so give me them in the tournament. Don't get stuck on Texas, T-Mac. It's not about Texas. It never is.
We will be back. will be back. We will be back. We will be back. You're listening to Hurrdat Sports Radio.
We're wrapping up hour number 2 here on Hurrdat Sports Radio, AM 590 ESPN Omaha, ESPN Tri-Cities. We are live on Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. That's DB. I'm Ravi Lulla. You're not going to believe this, but the Texas fan wants to bring it back to Texas football. I'm shocked, frankly. T-Mac, I don't know what you're saying. If you want to try and clarify that, I did not follow that YouTube comment. But what I did follow is DB listening to Kim Mulkey press conference in the break here because, well, he's a little bit of a sicko when it comes to press conferences. He listens to everything. You're a press conference sicko.
Yeah,
that's fair. I mean, come on.
That's probably true.
I mean, you're kind of a sicko, like in terms of like all sports, because you watch so much stuff that I'm like, why are you watching that?
Most of it is like just proof of concept. I want to see if like what I hear
is true,
is actually what I see when whatever particular team plays.
So when I see and hear that Kim Mulkey is unhinged, and then I see a press conference where she's blaming her players getting in a fight on the officials not calling enough fouls.
Yeah, so that was kind of played out of order. So she said, hey, nobody wants to see that. It was ugly. I don't like it. But I can tell you one thing. I wish she would have pushed Angel Reese, stop picking on little people. And it was kind of this awkward silence. Like there wasn't really a follow-up because
she knew she shouldn't have said it.
I think people were, no, I'm talking about from the media. Like it was kind of weird.
Yeah.
And then she went right into how the tone wasn't set with the officials. She goes, "We play hard. They play hard. There was one foul apiece called. Like maybe that had something to do with not getting control of the game.
Maybe get control of your team, Kim Mulkey. Is that too much to ask?
It's a lot of BCD.
Listen, if you're coach, you're still coaching. You coach high school kids. No matter what happens with the officiating, are you in any way blaming officiating if your kids get into a fight?
Wait, me personally?
Yes. If you're a coach,
yeah,
and you're in a game where the officiating is terrible. Now, by the way, she did say one foul apiece. It's not like there was 10 fouls against her team and 0 fouls on the other team.
Yeah, she's trying to bully responsibility.
It was so physical. It was so physical. No wonder we fought.
So if our players fought, and would I blame the no?
Because you're not a stupid person.
No, but my team, they also know, like I would say, control what you can control. And that includes your actions.
Also, can we just take responsibility for what you had a part of? She had no part of the officiating, right? Like I'm not mistaken. She didn't have stripes on yesterday?
0.
She did have a team that got in a fight after the game, though, right?
Yeah.
So that was part of her. So maybe we take a little accountability. You know I'm big on accountability, right? Not saying I'm perfect, but it's important to me, especially in sports. It's one of the things that we should learn from sports is to be accountable. Okay? And then we have a coach at a very high level in her sport saying like, well, if the officiating had been better, we wouldn't have gotten a fight. Say that out loud a couple times and see if that's not one of the dumbest things you've ever heard. If the officiating had been better, I'm summarizing here, but this is what she's saying.
I mean, for the most part.
If the officiating had been better, my team wouldn't have fought. Those are the lessons we're trying to learn from sports?
I just go back to the deal the other day where we immediately skip to the kids.
Yeah.
A lot of times it's us.
There's a lot of bad influences of modeled behavior.
A lot of times it's us.
Yeah. They learn it from somewhere.
As I'm looking at the poster child on ESPN right now, Baker Mayfield, before we talk to Mike Sautter in a few minutes, to recap, state that Baker Mayfield has become the poster child for the short-term contract to make long-term money.
Hey,
I know that's how you drew it up, right?
Yep,
Baker Mayfield would be the poster child.
Absolutely. Why not?
I'm happy for him, though, because, I like Baker.
I think he got a kind of a raw deal in Cleveland.
So, but I agree with you, but he didn't help himself on the way out the door.
No.
So he had been pretty cool, and then he kind of went back and forth with the media, and I get it. Maybe enough was enough.
Well, he's always kind of had that sort of chip on his shoulder.
100%. But then he started to
talk a little too much.
Say it out loud, and I was like, "Ooh, you can't win." Until you put up numbers.
Yeah.
Right.
But he's always been that guy, which I will actually give him a little bit of credit for.
Making $25 million a year the next 2.
Go get your bag. Go for it.
I mean, that's
not bad change.
No.
I was
being left for dead in Cleveland.
I'm not a
kind of like what you're trying to do with D-Watt. Hey, you just got Jerry Jeudy, though.
Congrats.
Boy, they couldn't get Jeudy out of there fast enough.
5th and a 6th?
I mean, that's a great deal.
They were not. I mean, look at the receivers they passed on in that draft to take Jerry Jeudy. Ayuk, Jefferson. There's another one in there. I don't remember who the third one is. There's another really good one in there.
Did Jeudy go before Lamb?
Yes.
Yeah.
CeeDee Lamb's the other one. CeeDee Lamb, Justin Jefferson, Brandon Ayuk.
I don't know if I would. So you're putting Ayuk there?
He's better than Jeudy.
Yeah.
I'm not saying he's Jefferson or CD.
If the draft was tomorrow, I don't think I would take Ayuk over Jeudy.
Really?
I don't think so.
I think you're selling Ayuk a little short here.
Oh, they both have their fair share of dropsies. I don't know. I'd have to think about that. Again, Cam Newton, man, you put me on the spot.
Well, I mean, this is what we do here. It's live. I don't know what to tell you, bud.
Yeah.
We're going to talk to Mike Sautter in a few minutes here to kind of put a bow on state basketball. I will say the one thing you were talking about Baker Mayfield. The thing that I always respect about Baker Mayfield, and it's kind of the thing that irked you a little bit on the way out of Cleveland, is he has been the same person no matter what numbers he's put up.
Mm-hmm.
He's talked. He's been confident in himself. He's had that chip on his shoulder. Like, he goes to Texas Tech as a walk-on, wins the starting job as a true freshman walk-on, which is, I don't think people understand how absurd that is.
Well, he did it twice.
Right. But he does it at Texas Tech. I think they put him on scholarship, but they don't guarantee him the starting job, or they don't list him as the number one guy. And he's like, forget you guys. I'm going to go to a better team, walk on, and become the starter.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there is a level of irrational confidence there.
But I think at that stage, most of those guys have it.
They don't have it like that.
Well, you have to, though.
You don't have a lot of guys walking on to two different programs to be a starting quarterback.
I mean,
that's a different like, I get a lot of guys are irrationally confident, and you have to be. I think Baker Mayfield's on a different level.
Who was it? Was it Inky Johnson? Who said, like, and this is not rocket science, but like, the more skin you have invested in the game and the outcome, like, the less apt you are to give it up.
Sure.
So, I mean, that's the gist of the point. So the more invested I am with what I'm putting in, that's going to be that much harder for you to take it away from me. I mean,
you're just going to keep doubling down.
That's Baker Mayfield.
Which
I wish some of these guys had more of that in them, as opposed to just taking the money and being cool.
Like D-Watt?
I'm not going to accuse anybody of anything that I don't know for sure.
From the outside looking in, it would appear that he was okay with getting that $250 million guaranteed and playing bad football.
Like, you're on him, and that's fine, right? I mean,
I don't know if he's mailing in or if he's just bad now because of the break. It's really hard to come back.
I think you're overstating the bad part, number one.
He's pretty bad.
But that's different. That's fine.
Okay.
Like most things so far with us, like, over time, I have a feeling I'll be right. Okay, I was gonna give it time. I'm gonna let your emotions well up and say a bunch of crazy things. I'm just gonna lay in the cut and be patient, which is weird because that took me 50 years to be able to figure out how to do.
Hey, that's all right.
But
lifelong learner.
You're not turning down. If somebody wants to give you guaranteed money, you're not saying no.
I 100%
so you can't, like, that has to be a set aside. It does.
No, I'm not blaming Deshaun.
Because that's not his fault.
I'm not blaming Deshaun for taking the money, right? You take that money and you run. Still not very good at football.
You watch this year, especially after the draft. You see what some of these guys are going to make. And I'm not mad. It's not my money.
No, I'm not mad that they're making the money. I'm just saying people have this idea in their head that Deshaun Watson's still good at football.
Why would he play hurt?
We sure he was hurt?
Well, he's on the shelf with surgery.
We sure he was hurt?
Oh, here we go. Are you serious?
Doesn't seem like a guy that wants to play a lot of football anymore. That's all I'm saying.
You're talking to a ghost?
Now that does happen.
It does happen.
Guys can get a little fat on the hog, but
just doesn't seem like he's real interested in playing football anymore. That's all.
Man,
when he does play football, not very good.
I just don't think you can, especially with a model franchise with quarterback development like Cleveland. Like, what are we talking about here?
Okay, but he didn't get drafted.
No, that's it doesn't matter. Some franchises seem to have that bugaboo.
I mean, listen, maybe I don't know. Maybe it's QB poison in Cleveland. I don't know.
Maybe some franchises seem to have that bugaboo.
Maybe they got bad water. They got lead in there or something. I don't know what's going on. Maybe it's in the water in Cleveland. I don't know. But whether it's Cleveland, whether it's Deshaun, I think if anybody expects him to be very good at football this year, they're going to be sorely disappointed.
Yeah.
I think if anybody expects him to play very much football this year, they're going to be pretty disappointed.
All right. So the speaking of the quarterbacks in the draft, are you surprised at the McCarthy momentum?
A little.
Because, and I don't know if this is smoke, but the guy that seems to be falling, and I don't know, maybe it's only 2 or 3 spots, but in pecking order of the quarterbacks, is a guy that hasn't done anything wrong yet, and that's Drake May.
Yeah, I think
like he hasn't done anything worse since the season ended.
He hasn't.
Other guys, that's why I never understand the draft. Just roll the tape. Drake May's pretty good.
And
he hasn't done a thing yet.
And he's probably more NFL ready than more NFL ready than JJ McCarthy.
I don't know.
You don't think so? I don't know. We can talk about this more later. We've got Mike Sautter coming up next to wrap up state basketball.
We will be back. We will be back. We will be back. We will be back. You're listening to Hurrdat Sports Radio.
Oh, yeah, no doubt, no doubt.
Mike Sautter.
Yeah.
Mike Sautter.
Oh, man, you're going to put me on the spot.
Mike Sautter.
Kicking off hour number 3 here on Hurrdat Sports Radio, AM 590, ESPN Omaha, ESPN Tri-Cities. We're also on KFOR in Lincoln. That's DBM, Ravi, Lulla. We're live on Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube as well. And we are joined now by Mike Sautter of our very own Hurrdat Sports and NEB Preps. Mike, what's going on?
Not much. Steeler Nation, let's ride.
Oh my gosh. That's what we're on this morning, huh? Like that's
your guy, DP.
that's
Gotta be your guy now.
that's what we're on.
Don't have any
What'd you say to me Wednesday? I hadn't seen this dude for like 2 days, and the first thing he said something slick, and I'm like, you just can't help yourself, can you? Steve Dude said, Steeler Nation, let's ride. You know, that kept me up for an extra 50 minutes last night.
Yeah, I bet you were
I had a little mini dream that dude was selling me beard oil. I'm dead serious. It made no sense. That's how traumatized I was. But I'm gonna hope he gets some dubs for us. You know.
I mean, listen. As long I love this dude. As long as Mike Tomlin is the head coach, they'll be fine.
Yeah, I'm a huge fan. But Ravi told me this morning, among other things, when he's pointing out all my character flaws, that I have a weird obsession with press conferences. So. But that's where I first kind of fell in love with Tomlin, to be honest.
Well, it's normal to watch press conferences of teams that you like root
just
for.
Not random.
When you're watching rando press conferences just for funsies, I don't know what to do there.
I don't know if it's for fun. Sometimes I like to accrue some knowledge. And by the way, it says the guy, he's laughing at Russell Wilson. Nice 2021 quarterback class led by your guy in that used to be in New York. All those guys outside of Fields are, Trey Lance, you got Mac Jones, you have Fields, you have
Zach Wilson.
Don't say it.
Well, it says the guy that's Steeler Nation.
And then my generational talent, Trevor Lawrence.
Yeah. I'm telling you, it's a good landing spot for Mac Jones.
It's a bad class. It's turned out to be a pretty dicey class.
I'm hoping Justin Fields.
Bad might be aggressive, but I like Fields and Lawrence.
Can salvage it.
I like Fields. I wanted Fields in San Francisco.
Justin's
honestly.
in a good spot.
Yeah.
Yeah, I will never forget sitting there watching live the Zach Wilson Pro Day, and he made the one throw that got him drafted that high. And Robert Saleh was standing there watching it too. And I remember them painting to him, and I was like, please don't take this guy off of one throw. And they did.
Where are you on your way to?
I've never pulled off on one of those rest stops that don't have the bathroom, where it's just the parking only.
Yeah.
So
Never really understood the point of those.
Yeah, I will say this. It's somewhere in Iowa, and I am, you look in there. This is one of those, like, you just keep looking in the side and rear view mirrors to make sure you're going to be all right. So,
where are you going?
I'm on my way to Sioux Falls. We're going to Sioux Falls today. And
oh, that's
tomorrow,
right. You're going to watch a little basketball.
Summit, yeah. And then I'm going to
Minneapolis
after that, yeah.
Sioux Falls is a quick drive. So you're not coming back in between, are you? You're just going to keep heading northeast?
No, yeah. Last night when the Big Ten bracket came out, it was like, okay, like I could come home Wednesday, but then it's like you're leaving again Thursday, and you're kind of basically doing the drive over again. It doesn't really make a lot of sense.
God, your wife's got to be a saint.
I'm gone the entire week. A whole like 5-6 days.
Yeah.
That's aggressive.
Yeah,
after being gone for state girls and boys basketball for 4 days.
So you're basically gone the whole month of March
with Jacob Padilla as his roommate. So
yeah,
what were some of the takeaways that you can't, like, if you were going to talk general storylines before we get into specific champions, aside from Jacob Padilla repeatedly saying, kids, make your free throws, what were some of your takeaways?
I look at the A game and the whole tournament, I guess, but it is selfishly for me just validated my thoughts on Jaden Jackson, I guess, which was great because I've thought he was the best player in the class for 3 years now, and people have wanted to argue with me about that, but thank God he showed up in the second half to validate my thoughts. He was electric. He was awesome in that second half. There's no other way to say it. And asked him after the game, what changed in the first half, and basically it was Coach Klein said, look, it's a sprained ankle. You're going to be fine. You've played with sprained ankles before. Go be you, or whatever, probably some more choice
Sounds
words
like
than that.
surprise. That sounds a lot like Coach Klein.
Yeah.
He's a tough guy. Like he tries to instill a lot of mental toughness. He's not I like Coach Klein a ton.
Yeah, no, it was great. And like him getting that one without, Coach Woodard. I mean, I'm sure Coach Woodard definitely helped along the way and probably gave a little advice and stuff, but him getting it done without him with this group, and kind of look at it. And even at the end of the last year when Coach Woodard retired, you look at it, you're like, okay, he's setting up his predecessor, or he's setting up the next guy in Coach Klein pretty well, right? To have success right out of the gate. And that's pretty admirable if you think about it, because
they didn't even really skip a beat without Polachek. Like, they found a lot of
Right.
different ways to skin a cat.
Yeah, Isaiah McMorris was pretty good.
That's
too.
what I was telling Ravi. Like, he stepped in and he's much more under control. Like, because he's really competitive anyway, right? But like within the framework of what they're doing, he was really good.
Yeah, he was really good. Jacob Arope had a great.
He was
tournament.
fantastic.
Wow.
He probably like spurts of Derek Rollins. Like, there were stretches where he like controlled the game, I felt.
Right.
He was
was
multiple
great.
games.
Yeah, he semifinal game he was pretty good too.
Yeah.
So it's Coach at the Miller Northeast, awesome. And they do a good he can coach, can he? Like,
well, so
wow.
Mike, we were talking about this earlier about Miller North's talent versus the way they actually play. Not that they don't have talented guys, right? But no D1 guys on that roster.
Dude, their action is so good.
But they are literally the only team to beat Bellevue West this year, and then we're up on them until Jaden Jackson became Jaden Jackson in the second half.
I got up and walked out when we called timeout with 4 seconds left, because I did not want them to have a chance to drop an inbounds play.
Yeah.
Right.
I was like, I know they're going to get something good. And it almost went.
That thing was halfway
went
down.
in.
That thing was halfway down for Urbanic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's good. He's pretty good.
I was just gonna bring his name up.
He's
the
pretty good,
development
man.
That the jump he took, it was phenomenal.
Do you know why I have that weird affinity for him and Cam? He stays with it. Like, he works. He's a stud, man.
Yeah. He must be a pretty good defender, because he's a guy that they chose to put on.
Well, he's deceptively long. I think he's a little bouncier than when he threw the dunk down, I was like, oh. But
yeah,
because he's not uber twitchy. He's very crafty, and I watched this close because I thought Westside guarded really, really well. He is deceptively strong. He's for that frame. But he's a strong kid.
And that Ravi, Derek Rollins will be a Division I player. It's just what level is he?
Okay,
so,
fair.
Like
if I had Rollins for like, and I'm sure somebody will. It doesn't have to be a DB thing. I would train him for 6 weeks on just his fitness, like his body type, because he's bouncy and he's a little twitchy, and he's learned to shoot it. Imagine him like about
laterally,
about 12 to 15 pounds lighter. Because whenever he gets ready, he is unbelievably crafty.
His footwork is super. It's so good.
It's sensational.
It's so good. He's got better footwork than most college bigs,
and he's patient.
Yeah.
And his ability to step out and hit threes now.
This was a good year for his.
Well, that's what he needed, right? Because he's not going to be tall enough to be a D1 big.
That's what I liked about Arope too. His footwork is pretty nifty.
Yeah. He, for as big of a guy as that is, he is a light on his feet as far as Arope. Now, I will say this: the guy that popped, we kind of been waiting for him to be a stud and just moving on. Is Brock Scholl. He had a terrific.
I'm on that hype train.
And he's pretty good, man. Like he's so tall, right, long. His ability to shoot over the top of somebody for a three is something that was that stood out, I guess, to me, right?
I remember he came to UBT on kind of an early flyer for ETG. This is a couple years ago. And I looked at his dad, who was a little kind of reluctant. He's like, I don't know, it's kind of a big step up. And I watched that practice, and Runco was putting them through it, right? The whole team, and I mean, it was a high intensity practice. And I looked at his dad, and I go, oh yeah, he'll be just fine. He'll be a good get for them, just because of his active toughness, right? It's like, and he's skilled. And I it's almost like that day I kind of fell in love.
He's also not, he's like a little slight, but he's not a fake tough guy either.
No, that's what I'm saying.
Tough. Yeah. There's not a lot of show there. For as much blood it was coming out of his nose on Friday in the semifinal game, for him to stick with it and keep playing, like, that was a lot. Like, it was a pretty tough kid. He was great, and then Jimmy Chitwood reincarnated, or real life Jimmy Chitwood for Amherst, was awesome to watch. Taj Hadwiger, that dude.
I've watched him. I watched him have a conversation with Nate Newhouse, kind of under the media place, and I looked at that. I looked at his facial hair, and I was like, "Huh, that's interesting."
Yeah.
How much? That probably started like 3 years ago.
Yeah, the mustache is something, and I will say, like, if you look at his face, he looks like the character from Jimmy Chitwood from Hoosiers. And then what does he do? He goes out and puts like the whole town on his back for a state title, and hit crazy shots. Like,
well, that gym is spectacular too. I know it has a lot of wrestling banners in that gym at Amherst, but they got a heck of a facility.
Yeah, and that's another thing too, is like they have been a wrestling community, and like that kid basically flipped it for them to be a basketball community. He was awesome. I was just like in awe of what he was doing and hitting shots and all that. And then obviously Wahoo was pretty good and had been pretty good all year. Wahoo can thank Auburn for knocking off Ashland Greenwood for them, because they hadn't beat them in 3 tries this year. So, Marcus Glock obviously is a name we've known for a long time.
Well, he just refused to lose, didn't he?
Yeah, he was. I mean, he just has that, like, didn't want to lose, didn't want to go out, without it. And Matt Binder obviously hit some huge shots and has that too. But Marcus it just was his time, right? Like, it's been building for him to be the man there at Wahoo for a long time. And last year, team chemistry wasn't right.
It's good. It was kind of good for me. Like, I cheer for, and I don't care where you go to school. I like good stories. I was happy to see Sheaf kind of get that off of him.
Like underachieving, whatever crap. Like, that dude is a great basketball coach. And
I know you guys laugh at my interviewing thing. He's a good interview too.
Good press conferences.
Pretty intelligent.
I like listening. You guys, Mike, I like listening to adults, man. Sorry.
Hey, I listen to press conferences all the time. I love going back and listening to press conferences. It's great, especially when you're transcribing them. That's the fun part, right? Not really, but
that doesn't sound that fun.
I still do the old school transcribe it, where I go back and I like pause, listen, pause. I don't put it into some AI writer thing for me. I actually do it the old school way, which takes way more time.
That must mean he knows somebody that uses AI, because there's
throwing a shot there.
Another shot across the bows to somebody.
Jacob Padilla. So
wow.
I had to clear my throat. I was clearing my throat. You didn't hear that?
Work smarter, not harder, Sautter.
The nicest person on the planet, although Jacob is sneaky cutthroat, but the nicest person on the planet, you just bus roll.
Well, listen, just because he's quiet doesn't mean he's nice. Jacob will throw you under the bus.
Oh, I know.
He will.
He's done it to me.
He will roll you
100 times. I get it.
Dude,
I shake it off because I like him.
That dude, no, yeah, he will cut you.
Hey, so for in-state college guys, man, is it like, where are you starting? Hunter had a fantastic year. Saint was great. Wisconsin's making another. Quiet. So we watched him the other night against Buffalo, and Hunter was kind of struggling to get it going. Who's another guy, and like Sharif kind of took that game over. He's been fun to watch. Frankie Fiddler had a game winner obviously last night. Like good stuff. Well, he's
Is he good? He seems pretty good.
Hey, you want one of my? We're do like one of your worst takes of all time.
What was that?
And this wasn't a terrible take, but remember in the state finals, I was doing that broadcast, Sautter, and I go with Aurora, and I mean, he was off balance throwing like 55-yard darts, and I'm like,
it was unbelievable.
I'm like, this guy may be a better college football player if he put his mind to it. Do you know how good he would have had to be at football to be better than he is? Better than he is right now.
And I still don't think it's a terrible take,
dude. He was. Do you remember those years with Sharman? He was unreal.
No, that game, I will never forget that game. Like, I will never forget him just standing back there,
buying time, telling guys where he wanted them to go.
It was like Caleb Williams kind of moving around, just like making plays, but not really with his feet. But he was just dropping bombs.
Yeah,
I mean, just accurate as hell. He's a great basketball passer. But
I think at one
that on a football field.
At one point, I just laughed. He threw one rolling to his left down the sidelines on about. It was about a 55, 60-yard completion. I was like, it's just not. It's
not normal.
It's just not fair.
Normal people don't do that.
Didn't have to set his feet.
He's also, he's always got a chip on his shoulder, like always.
Yeah, he does. He stays. Yep, he stays grimy. I kind of like that though.
Yeah, and it was. I'm pretty sure that he was upset that he wasn't getting any football like recruiting attention. I'm pretty sure he was.
Yeah, I believe it. How good of a story we have tonight. It's the spread right now against Denver, and I think they're the 7. It's only like 1.5. Like Omaha could be in the finals.
Yeah, they can beat that. They can beat Denver. Denver's got a guy though. That would be pretty cool, right? Like, because I will say this. It'd be a little validation for Crutchfield and how he's recruiting and stuff, because people around the city or whatever, and I'm one of them, that is like, hey, why aren't you recruiting our guys more, right? But like, hey, if this is the recipe for him to win and he wins, then you can't say anything, right? You just can't. So, South Dakota State has St. Thomas, tough matchup, and then South Dakota State versus Omaha would be really fun for me. If that is the final, just because, the Nebraska connections there are pretty good, because you have Will Kyle and Charlie Easley there, and then Frankie for Omaha is obviously stud. So that one, that's the matchup I want to happen tomorrow night.
Yeah.
Hopefully at least one of those wins and makes my day and the game tomorrow much better for me as far as the content that I want to get. But it'd be fun. I mean, Crutch winning that game last night, North Dakota is pretty good. I mean, they're 2 seed and score a lot of points and stuff, but Frankie is.
And that's coming off of, what was it the last time? 99-78 last time North Dakota saw Omaha? 99-71. It was something.
99-78.
I know they touched 99.
99-78.
Was it? Yeah.
Mike, do you have any idea how to
Rain Man?
Yeah, you've got some sicko tendencies. Mike, what do you make out of the 2 matchups against Denver earlier in the season? Basically, they wax each other on the road.
Mm-hmm.
Like, is that how you get a 1.5 point spread on a neutral side? It's like, let's just take it and split it down the middle.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. It's not, there isn't anything. You're just like, these teams are pretty evenly matched because they both smacked each other. Denver, I can't think of the guard. Denver's guy scoring a ton. Or at one point he was this year, but that's going to be, how are you going to stop him? Is kind of the thing for Omaha.
So dribble drive penetration hasn't really been their thing. It's been defending the arc. That's what I'm kind of curious. That's what I want to see.
Well,
Mike, are you talking about Bruner for Denver?
Yeah, that's him.
Yeah. So in the win when they beat them, right? He gets 21. How many shots to take him?
Probably 17. He shoots
20.
Yeah,
6 for 20.
Yeah, he's
right.
Yeah,
So if you can get him in that, if you can make him inefficient, he's probably getting his 20, right? But you can make him look like Miles Powell instead of Tyshawn Alexander, then you got a chance.
That's a shame. I was gonna cuss right there.
You like that reference, Mike?
Oh Lord.
Yeah, you almost had an S word dump right there that Shane would have to take care of. That would not have been good for me.
On the other on the other hand, when Denver beat them, he had 25 points on 8 of 13 shooting, right? So that seems pretty close. Hey, he's going to get his 20. How many shots are you going to make him take to get there?
And that's probably why they're the 7th seed, right? Or whatever, 6th, 7th seed, because he's just wildly inconsistent.
Volatile.
Right. Yeah, volatile is a good word.
Thank you.
That's exactly it. Yeah, I like that. I'm gonna use. Can I steal that?
Absolutely.
So I know
I probably will.
I can't even believe you're the guy, but on the road, plenty of good places to eat. I know you're not going to go to any place good, especially in Minneapolis, which has unbelievable restaurants. Which fast food place will get the majority of your $17 that you'll spend between now and Friday?
Well, I already got McDonald's once, and
did you use
probably
the app?
More than one. Oh yeah, always.
Okay,
100%, no question.
So that's going to take you up until sometime tonight?
Yeah, probably.
Okay.
You're not a lunch. We don't eat lunch as Mike Sautter. We don't eat lunch.
Dude, he's a weird dude.
It's normally one. I'm good for one meal until dinner.
Okay.
So.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
I got the one meal. I'll just maybe snack or something.
How many apps? How many fast food apps do you have?
Just the one. Just
Just riding with McDonald's.
That's your spot, huh?
You're a brand loyalty guy.
Yeah, it's also right around the corner from my house now.
They got you on an NIL deal or something.
They should.
Big Mac Sack with Mike Sautter.
And I'm not going to say the other fast food place, but that used to be your go-to. Why'd you get off of them?
I just
when they stopped doing the 99-cent thing, he was traumatized.
Yeah.
It went up to $2 last year.
Yeah, not that you gotta. Yeah, that's why I use the app. I mean, I got breakfast this morning for $4.
Congrats, Mike. Have fun on the road. We'll I'm sure we'll catch up with you on Friday.
You're a national treasure, man. We're gonna keep you safe.
Where you'll be in Minneapolis or somewhere at that point. Have safe travels, bud.
All right, see you later.
All right, see ya. We'll have more Hurrdat Sports coming up next.
We will be back. 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 You're listening to Hurrdat Sports Radio.
We're back here on Hurrdat Sports Radio, AM 590, ESPN Omaha, ESPN Tri-Cities, and KFOR in Lincoln. We're live on Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube as well. That's DB. I'm Ravi Lulla. Nice
Hi.
little fun call we had there with our guy, Mike Sautter.
Yeah. So there was, they're kind of what would be perceived as their counterpart.
Okay.
Used to have some really good deals, and he could eat for like $2.19. And I think he did it for a couple of years.
That's and then they raised
he
it
would
to,
get two of them, and I think it would come up to like $2.19 or something like that. And then
they raised it to $2 instead of 99 cents.
Yes.
He got real mad.
Yes. And I think he divorced him shortly thereafter and like moved on. I mean, it was his staple.
I mean, listen, sometimes when the price goes up, you gotta get out, you know?
I mean, can you imagine being built like that and eating for like $6 a day?
No.
It's like
can't do it.
He's a medical wonder.
Yeah. That's one word for it.
Yeah.
I don't know about a medical wonder, but
somebody was mad at you about your Jerry Judy take.
I don't know. Were they? I don't know. I didn't really have a Jerry Judy take.
He's not bad.
I was actually
drops a lot of balls.
I was actually surprised they were able to get him for just a fifth and a sixth.
Yeah, that's a heck of a deal.
Yeah, I agree. I thought that he was probably worth more than that. I don't know if I was more hating on the Browns because I don't think Judy's the solution to their problems, even if he's a good player.
Russell Wilson has not moved the Steelers' odds title. To win the conference, it went from 50-1 to 40-1. And to win the division, it went from 12-1 to 11-1.
Listen, he's moving those lines.
Don't turn the ball over and convert third downs.
Line mover Russell Wilson.
The team will be pretty good.
He could. I mean, okay.
Problem is the AFC is a gauntlet.
He wasn't actually that bad last year.
I'm glad you said that out loud because I was going to hammer that point home.
His numbers were not bad. Oh. He wasn't, and I didn't watch all of the Denver Bronco games because why would I? But by the end of the year, they were playing pretty well, and he was okay. He wasn't bad. The problem with Russell Wilson is all the other stuff. It's the personality stuff.
I know. You always tell me that, and I'm telling you, I think
you think Tomlin can fix him.
Yeah.
Which is fine.
It's not about fixing. It just, his track record says I'm right.
About what? Oh, Tomlin's?
Yes.
Oh, okay. I thought you were talking about Russell.
Yeah, you're talking about a guy that kept Antonio Brown and Le'Veon Bell under wraps. That alone should get him in the Hall of Fame.
100%. Quarterbacks are different.
He had AB for 6 years.
And he was fine. Nobody knew he was crazy. Nobody knew he was crazy. Well,
I'm not going to use that word, but.
Listen. I take mental health as seriously as anybody. My guy AB full on crazy.
No, it's and he kept that stuff under wraps.
No one knew that he had issues until he left Pittsburgh.
He kept Big Ben in check when Big Ben came with pretty much.
How do we want to go there on Big Ben?
You talking about the drunken bathroom thing?
I mean, we had a couple of them.
Yeah.
How in check is that? That's all I'm asking.
Because he got better.
Sure.
The longer he was in that program.
Fair.
That's
he improved. I'll give you that. 100%. Okay.
Proof is in the pudding.
All right, that's fair. He does a very good job. I don't know if the Russell Wilson thing is so weird, right? Because it's not.
He's cheap.
Ooh, Russ?
Yes.
What do you mean? Money, the contract. Yes. My issue is he's kind of unlikable. You can keep a guy from having issues off the field.
You got Hayward, you got JJ Watt, you've got
TJ Watt.
JJ Watt. Somebody, never mind.
One of the Watt brothers. It's fine.
No, you have TJ Watt. I was just getting ready to make a comparison about him making a comeback for a particular team. So sometimes, and you're talking to somebody who had to that this happened to, if you have some crybaby tendencies and you're not around a bunch of crybabies, or you have some look at me tendencies and you're not around a bunch of look at me people, and the culture dictates that, you'll stop doing it.
I don't know.
Okay. Well, that's why we'll play the game.
That's fair.
It doesn't have to be a definitive stance right now.
No, but that's my concern about Russell Wilson.
But it's a fairly smart move given the money.
Listen, I get taking the chance. I do. I get it.
I'd rather do that than pay Cousins $45 million coming off his Achilles.
Would you rather do that than trade for Justin Fields?
No.
You would have rather had Justin Fields?
Yes.
Because he's still pretty cheap because he's on a rookie deal.
Yeah.
Higher upside.
And you got him under.
You got him under team control.
Yeah, I was gonna use a baseball term like the arm control thing, but for a year and a half,
you get a pretty good long look at him in a way better circumstance than he's gotten in Chicago. I think that's getting better
with Fields. I still wonder what the cutoff is before you think you can before he's a better value than getting a rookie quarterback.
Where on the draft?
Yeah,
that's and I asked you that I think off air last week, and we didn't get to it on air.
Yeah.
Which guy are you I'd rather have Justin Fields than that guy. I'd rather have Justin Fields for 2 years.
So let's say you get Penix in the first or second round, 44, 45th pick.
Okay.
Would you rather have Fields or Penix?
If I'm getting Penix in the second round, I think I take Penix.
Okay, so we're ahead of that.
Well, so it's different, right? I'd rather have Fields over J.J. McCarthy in the first round. If J.J. McCarthy goes 10,
which he very well could.
Right, that's what I mean. That's a real spot for him is 10 to 12-ish is where I'm seeing him. I would rather have Fields Because what are you giving? Are you even giving up a first for Fields at this point?
No.
It's like a second and a third?
I don't understand why you're so down on McCarthy.
I just don't know on McCarthy. And you don't know on any of these guys.
Because he's pretty talented.
He's talented.
He's got a good arm. He's got good arm talent, and he's an amazing interview.
So here's the problem I have with, I don't know if a problem, but the question I have with J.J. McCarthy is, and it got better last year, his junior year really, really struggled with downfield throws, like really badly.
Yeah.
To the point where
I'm just going to ask you one question.
Sure.
Who was he throwing to? Just name me 2 names.
Was Roman Wilson on that team 2 years ago?
Yeah.
That's all I got.
A little dinged up.
That's all I got.
That's what I'm saying.
That's fine. But the throws still weren't accurate. I'm not talking about, like, Penix in the national championship game was putting balls where Rome Odunze could catch him and he didn't come down with them, right? That's different than throwing a ball a guy can't catch, right? Like, I can see those are different things to me.
Although Odunze didn't do his best work.
That's what I mean.
But again.
But the ball was where.
He was going against a
100%
first-round cornerback.
But the ball was where it needed to be.
Johnson is a stud. That whole secondary was on lock.
100%. But the ball was where it needed to be. It was in a place where Odunze could make a ball or could make a play.
They didn't win all the 50-50 balls that they had won the previous week.
100%.
Yeah.
But the balls were in the right place. That's where I have, man, that's a bad class.
Trevor Lawrence, Zach Wilson, Trey Lance, Justin Fields, Mac Jones. But it's funny how people you forget like Mac Jones, his rookie year
was good. That's why I said
he's capable.
We've seen him be good as a rookie, so I don't mind. Like when you said it's a good fit for Jacksonville, I'm not going to push back on that. I don't know.
Not one of those quarterbacks had a winning record.
Yeah, it's tough. But that's what I mean. You get drafted to bad teams.
Not even your great Trevor Lawrence.
You get drafted to bad teams. Yeah. Like that's what happens, right?
Yeah, no, and I get it with the quarterback spot, which is why I think we have to recalibrate like the expectation level. A lot of it is what are the pieces.
A lot of it's fit. I say this all the time. Quarterback is way more situationally dependent than people want to admit.
Told you, Sage Rosenfels has said a lot of good things to me. One of the greatest things he said is there are 0 quarterbacks that can overcome a bad relationship with their offensive coordinator. He said it is the single most important relationship in the NFL is the OC and the quarterback
being on the same page. And I would even go as far as, and listen, he knows more about it than I. He was in that situation, right? But I would even go as far as to say, like, obviously OC QB, I'll take that as gospel. I don't have any issues with that. But I think I think it goes beyond OC too.
Yeah.
Like what's going on the defense side of the ball? What's going on with your skill position players? What's going on with your head coach? Is your front office, like is your GM and your head coach on the same page? Is the owner on the same page as the GM and the head coach? Like there is so many things organizationally that can work against a quarterback. That's why I'm not willing to throw it in on Justin Fields yet.
No, I would have liked Justin Fields in Pittsburgh.
Because
I think he's a tough guy.
I wanted the 49ers to draft him instead of Trey Lance. That's the guy I wanted. I think I was on the air in Lincoln saying that.
Do you believe the smoke with Lance maybe having an opportunity in Minnesota?
I do. It's a homecoming for him. I don't know. Like people have a weird affinity for that. He's from Minnesota originally. Like
it worked for Dawson Garcia in hoops.
Well, and then you got.
Did you see his 30-piece the other day? He is so sometime.
He's
good. He can be really good.
I would say talent level is really good. Consistency level, I don't know. He's one of those guys. Coming up next, we will wrap up the show and get to anything else we didn't hit on today in the sports cleanup here on Hurrdat Sports Radio.
We will be back. We will be back. We will be back. We will be back. You're listening to Hurrdat Sports Radio. Things you wanted us to get to from the weekend, but we didn't.
Clean up on aisle 6.
It's the Sports Cleanup.
Wrapping up the show here on AM 590, ESPN Omaha, ESPN Tri-Cities, KFOR in Lincoln. Speaking of Lincoln, make sure you're getting to Warhorse Sportsbook in Lincoln. You only got a few more days to get your qualified entries in for the bracket challenge where you can win $1 million. You've got till the 14th to either place $50 sportsbook bets or get 50 points on slots and racing. Each one of those gets you an additional entry into the $1 million bracket challenge. You also need to be a Warhorse Rewards member. But once you have those entries, you go and validate those entries at the Warhorse Casino in Lincoln starting a week from today. So you've got a few more days for your entries. Then you make your picks starting Selection Sunday. We're less than a week away here. I'm excited.
It's exciting.
I'm like Doc Sadler.
And you're going to be like,
I don't know. They got a good path. Ooh, I could see the draw.
It's exciting.
But you've been hating on all the Power 6 teams. So who
Natty,
knows
baby.
So who knows what's going to happen?
Who knows? Indiana State to the ship. Here we
Seton
go.
Hall and Providence all the way, baby.
Who knows? Whatever your picks are, if you get a perfect bracket, you got a chance to win $1 million. If you don't get a perfect bracket, you still got a chance for $10,000 in prizes, including weekly prizes as we go throughout the tournament. That's Warhorse Casino in Lincoln. If you got questions on rules, need more details, that's warhorsecasino.com. All right. Wanted to get caught up on some things that we didn't get to. First and foremost, our friends over there at Nebraska baseball.
Yeah, stacking another series.
Had a series win against South Alabama. Dropped that first game, then came back and won the last two. They are now 9-4 on the season and third in your RPI in the entire country. That's pretty good.
Yeah, and the cool thing is, and obviously, Baylor won't be good, but Texas Tech, Oklahoma, I think Grand Canyon. Remember we said they'll probably age well.
Yeah, I
College
think
of
so.
Charleston, I think, is going to age well. South Alabama is going to age well.
South Alabama's a top. They're right at the 50 mark in the RPI. They're 11-5 in the Sun Belt. That's a pretty good baseball team. They've went out. We were talking about this with the
schedule,
with the scheduling of basketball teams, right? When you're in a team that's not in a strong conference, and I know the Big Ten's a power conference, but in baseball, it's really not, right? I mean, baseball, it's a mid-major conference. Yeah. They have to go
that's
out.
A little harsh.
In baseball, no. In baseball, the Big Ten's a mid-major.
Okay.
I mean, come on. They treat it like mid-major sport.
Some do.
The conference in general treats it
Maryland,
like a
mid-major. Iowa, they'll be okay.
No, they take it seriously, but the conference in general treats baseball like a mid-major sport.
You're talking about how it's viewed amongst its own.
Yes.
Okay, I could kind of see
That's
that.
what I mean. Because listen, you could go to Drake and Indiana State take basketball serious. There's always teams
more than Ohio State takes their baseball serious.
Yes.
There's no reason for Ohio State to be bad. But anyway.
No, but there's a lot of there's not a reason for a lot of the teams in the Big Ten to be as bad at baseball as they are, except they just don't care. So when you're in the Big Ten in baseball, or if you're in one of these mid-major conferences in basketball, whatever, you have to go out and schedule in the non-con.
They've been aggressive.
Make up for the lack of quality in your conference schedule,
which makes these middies that they're getting ready to go on. I think they've got Wichita State for Tuesday, Wednesday before the weekend series with Nicholls State. It's going to test their pitching depth a little bit, but this is where you got to be. You just don't want to give some of these middies away.
Yeah, because they've got 5 games in 6 days basically between the Tuesday, Wednesday, Wichita State, and then that's at Wichita State. Then they're back home next weekend. Friday, Saturday, Sunday with Nicholls.
And I know Horn's start didn't go the way that they wanted to Sunday, obviously, but he got him 3 innings just to buy some time because this is going to be a long stretch right here where you're going to play a significant amount of games in just a few days.
Yeah, this is going to be a good stretch for Creighton, and then not Creighton, Nebraska, and then they've got Omaha a week from tomorrow. That's going to be in Lincoln as well. So
I'm missing one. Who else is in the summit that they play coming up around there? Is it in
North Dakota State right after that? They play Omaha and North Dakota State back-to-back days, the 19th and 20th. So they've got a stretch.
Who am I missing?
They've got a stretch here of not only a lot of home games, really their only away games in that stretch is Wichita State, and then they're home from the 15th all the way through the 24th. All their games are at home, so plenty of opportunities to get out to Haymarket to watch a pretty good Nebraska baseball team.
Let me go back to something Sam said because I thought it was interesting. Just his delivery, and he's right.
Yeah,
I think. But when Bluter said that Nebraska women just jumped into women's basketball, she goes that there are 4. And Sam was like, "Oh no, they're not going to be a 4," and they won't be. But my point in saying that is, and I hate the transitive property in sports, right?
Yep.
Just because one does. But if Nebraska plays like this against teams within their own conference, and you get a seeding or you get a 1 seed like Iowa, I mean, Nebraska's got to be pretty good, right?
Yes,
because this one isn't just about matchups. Nebraska has some really good players.
Yeah, so I do think Iowa is a good matchup for Nebraska. I also think that Nebraska has good players. Both can be true. I don't know that Nebraska would play as well against South Carolina's
They're undefeated though.
Right. Nobody's playing good against South Carolina, right? Yeah, USC.
One-dimensional. Juju Watkins, let her get her 31 shots.
Yeah, they might do pretty well against USC.
I think apparently her staff is pretty good because now they're getting the recruiting thing right, and they easily could be the pick to win the conference next year.
Yeah, I mean,
Preseason.
with Britt Prince coming in, and a lot of people coming back.
Potts is going to be a stud.
Yes, Potts was really good this year. Like they could be really good next year, like really good.
Yeah,
and that's kind of exciting. That's fun.
It's exciting.
We like good basketball,
and I think Nebraska men's will be pretty good. And they could get a shot in the arm from a guy or two. You never know what happens.
Yeah, you never know what's going on in the transfer portal. I will say, I'm glad you brought up Nebraska men's because I was looking at I don't understand why they're a 10.
No, it's almost like I haven't been saying this.
No, you have.
I don't get it either.
Like,
and I ask everybody that's smarter than me, right? I asked Matt DeMarinis, I asked Mike DeCourcy, I asked, we talked to one other college basketball guy.
I see how I didn't make that list. That's fine. Was it Ba?
Bracket what? Ba.
Oh, we talked to Bracket Wag. Shelby Mass.
Shelby Mass.
Yeah.
And it's like, am I missing something?
I'm just saying, I'm looking at Nevada.
Don't give me. There's probably 6 or 7 comps I could give you. BYU's the easy one. That's the one I've been using to make my case.
Yeah, that's fair. And they're a 5, which is.
I started this when I first got back.
Mm-hmm.
Right. I'm like, and so I had asked the question different ways. Is Nebraska misseeded? Are the metrics right? And to Matty D's, to DeMarinis' point, I think he was talking more about the metrics to validate their playing style than the seed line.
Mm-hmm.
But I got a little gun shy because I'm not sure I care whether Nebraska's an 8 or a 9. I'll take the 7 or the 10.
So,
but they are misseeded right now.
My argument is not about 8 or 9. It's that, like, you could make an argument that they're a 6 or a 7.
You gotta tell me.
Like, and that's the part where, because I don't want them to be an 8 or a 9, right? Like, if you're gonna be,
me neither. I said either be a 10
or be a
7,
right? Like, if you're gonna be on that side, if you're gonna be on the bottom half of the rung, be the 10.
I completely. But nobody, like, I felt like, if you're a Nebraska basketball fan and you say that, then it was like, well, win a game in a turn. So, and you can't rationalize with irrational people. So I didn't want to argue with idiots, but like, I just felt like you could, I felt like you could make the case they're seated too low.
What, like, let's talk about Florida for a minute here.
Florida got hot late. I used them as, they were an early comp for me, probably 2 weeks. It's funny you bring them up. In my head, Florida was an early comp. Then they reeled off some good wins. And I was like, maybe
so they got
playing well at the right time.
Bama's really their only good win.
And they hammered them in a revenge game
at
home.
They lost to them back in, and
they got Kentucky, right?
That was end of January at this point. They did get Kentucky. Yeah. That was a while ago now. I mean, they've only won 3 of their last 6. They're not on a heater. Before that, they had a run. Like end of January, from like January 20th to February 17th, they had a nice run. They've only won 3 of 6 since then. They're 21-10 overall. Like I'm looking at them. I look at their, let's look at quad 1 wins. They're 3-7 on the road, which is the exact same schedule as, that's the exact same number of road wins as Nebraska, by the way, 3 on the season. You look at their.
Did you see Shafe's tweet?
4. I didn't.
I'm like, yeah. Finally, somebody like the same number of road victories as Michigan State, Wisconsin.
I mean, Michigan State's a great example. I don't know why Michigan State is.
Can we go back to the bad loss?
I don't understand why Michigan
conference road wins.
And where's TCU at? TCU is like, okay, they're a 9, but they've been like firmly in the tournament. TCU's not.
But I stopped having the conversation if Nebraska was in the tournament the day I was back.
No, that's fine. But
I'm like, we got to stop giving the contingencies. Like
Florida,
they're in.
Florida is Florida better than Nebraska?
I don't know.
Because you're going to have a hard time convincing me on the metrics that they're better than Nebraska.
I'm telling you, let's put it to you like this. If there was any other team that has the double bye and plays when they do in Minnesota as the number 3 seed in the Big Ten, are they at 10?
Nebraska 4-6.
Are they at 10?
No. Nebraska 4-6 in quad 1. Florida 4-7. Florida 3-2 in quad 2. Nebraska 4-3. Florida has a quad 3 loss. Nebraska does not. Why is Florida 3 seed lines higher than Nebraska?
Same reason BYU is.
Because we like it. BYU's a 5.
I'm just
What are we doing here?
preach.
We're coming back tomorrow. That's what we're doing. Hurrdat Sports Radio.